Which do you buy first? Luggage or skid plate and crash bars?
Skid plate and crash bars.
Which are you more likely to splurge on? Tent or sleeping gear?
Sleeping gear.
Which are you more picky about? Helmets or boots?
Boots.
Are you going to pick a cabin or are you going to stay in a hotel?
I am going to pick a cabin.
Tent or hammock camping?
100% a tent.
Are you more likely to change a tire with no tools or pay someone else to change it?
I'm changing that tire.
All right, so you have put together an excellent, I'll call it an outline for an unscripted podcast about more or less how much it costs to do motorcycling, most specifically adventure motorcycling. So I'm looking forward to unpacking that, sir. But I want to address some comments. We did that hot riding episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you and I totally screwed up the cooling vest thing. So Jeff, who unfortunately has a last name that if I dare pronounce it, I will insult the universe.
Oh my goodness, just try it now. I want to hear it.
I'd have to pull out my email. But Jeff let me know that for the most part, he rides with a cooling vest quite a bit, and he wets it down at a gas station. He's like, yeah, here's the thing. It's like, you will get wet. And if it's like super humid, he said it's not super effective. So to me, it sounds like the cooling vest he's using works kind of like the neck gaiter type things that we were talking about that have the, oh my God, I can't.
Like the little gel or whatever, the beads in it or whatever.
Desiccant or whatever it is. So it sounds like that. Now, he also sent me a link to like a really advanced system that actually fills up like a Camelback and has like a pump or something that recirculates cold water. Yeah, it's like a $300 investment. But
wow.
And he said he's like, I would do this, but I wear an airbag, so it doesn't work out so well.
Gotcha.
So Jeff sent us that stuff. That was interesting.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff.
We've also got some funny comments on Spotify, so I appreciate people leaving comments on Spotify for sure. Bronco says, we did the motorcycle taboos, and I was like, do you replace your helmet after 6 years? And you were like, no, with zero applause at all. He said he spit out his coffee. So that was pretty funny.
Sorry, dude, I owe you a coffee, Bronco, my man. I have that effect sometimes, I guess.
KMP501 on the Motorcycle Taboo episode says he totally understands why we don't necessarily want to share some of the best spots. And it's funny how you and I have both come to that conclusion. Some of our favorite places have either been closed or, things have changed and whatnot.
Sure.
But he says as a person with really limited time, that it's hard to look up some of that stuff. He does appreciate it when, people give him tips about it, and then he typically keeps it to himself. Later on the Red River Scramble episode, he said, I feel called out by the RV people comments.
Oh, man. Yeah. I knew that was going to happen to somebody, so it was only a matter of time. Who was that made those comments for you?
KMP501 is his handle on it.
All right, Mr. 501, apologies for calling you out, but somebody had to do it, right?
It's funny because for the Red River Scramble thing, like RVs are a thing. Like it's a huge portion of the population. Right?
Totally.
Let's all enjoy it, right? Like
it's all in good fun, man.
Yeah, there's lots of brands and motorcycle cliche stuff that we can all make fun of one another with. Folks in flannels and cowboy boots and people with all climb gear and street tires.
100%.
Lots of stuff with all that.
They're all real things, man. That's the way that it goes, Those are good comments.
As far as cost of motorcycling, you and I talked a little bit before the episode. Like, obviously, we can talk bike prices, and we have whole episodes about that. But I think everybody talks about the extra cost that you need to save for, but it sounds like you kind of wanted to do a full episode on like, hey, these are like some serious costs. Like if you're really into this, how deep you want to go. So where would you like to start, and would you like to change my opener?
Yeah, no, I don't need to change your opener. You did a fine job, Mr. Faulkner. But I would say that I keep referring to this as the secret cost of adventure riding because to me there's things that we've all picked up along the way that we could probably share with either newer participants into the category or those of us that are looking to maybe expand and get into this a little bit deeper. And I think that there are some things that I mean, maybe we could all think about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can kind of talk about the price of motorcycles and that stuff, but definitely doing more of a deep dive into things that you might not really consider. Does that make sense?
No, it does. So let's lay that out. So we can talk about bike, like with Farkles, like what Farkles we're going to put on there.
Yeah, but we can't call it that in public. Yeah, we can call it hard parts or something, but yeah.
Some of it's pretty legit stuff, but you're going to buy aftermarket stuff for your bike, luggage,
Yep.
that whole thing. I like he put a note on here about maintenance, and I really think that matters.
Totally does.
It's really relative, right? I started looking at gas mileage, and I did a calculation for gas costs for the average mileage of 2,000 miles.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear your math.
Oh, that's a hilarious number.
Yep, that's a tease. You're teasing us right now.
So, but yeah, where do you want to start? Because between camping, tools, luggage, there's lots of stuff to cover.
Well,
here, so
I think
what makes sense.
To me, the beginning is the motorcycle. Because that's going to be the first thing you're going to buy. And the way I thought about this was a little bit maybe in the order that you buy stuff loosely. And the deeper you get into the lifestyle and the hobby, the sport, whatever you want to call it, the more advanced your purchasing becomes. So to me, we start at the motorcycle.
Okay.
And, obviously, it's like there's a big price difference, right? Depending on if you're going to buy a new bike or a used bike. I mean, you're talking anywhere for new bikes, like 10 grand to upwards of 20 grand, creeping in on 30 grand if you're GSing it, I mean, that's a ridiculous number to me to think of spending $30,000 on a motorcycle to just flog in the woods. But if you got it, do it, man,
I'm going to take a quick segue on
Please,
that.
yeah.
I discovered that the GS Trophy is apparently going to switch to the new R12 GS. Right, so next year, the plan is go to Romania, where they do Romaniacs in the Carpathian Mountains.
Okay.
And they're going to use the new R12 GS instead of the 1300. That's the
Interesting.
ADV Pulse, I think, released that article.
Oh, okay.
Anyone who listens to the podcast for a long period of time knows I'm like hyper cost conscious, and I looked it up and like, well, how much is that? So it's 17 grand for the new R12 GS. I love it. It's beautiful. It's my kind of bike.
Yep.
And it's better than the Urban and all the other stuff was. So that's good. But I was like, wait a minute. When the GS Trophy started around 2008, no, never mind. 10 years ago. So 2015, 2016.
Okay.
17 grand is roughly the price of the 1200 GS.
Okay.
That concept of, like you said, like if you want a new GS now, you're bumping against 30 grand. And
Yeah.
like, man,
I don't actually know what the base model GS costs, but I also don't know anybody that buys a base model GS.
You have to order it. You'd have to go to a dealership.
Is that right?
And tell them that you want that, because they won't import them to the U.S.
Well, I did
They
not.
will, but you have to like ask for one. The dealers are not.
They're not getting that in.
Right.
The I did not factor in a trip to Romania for that, so that would be
wise.
additional to anything else we got going on here.
Enough of my complaining about inflation. So yes, 10K to 20K in bikes, or you can get a Himalayan or a Sierra 300L Rally for $6,500 or less.
Correct, you can. However, I think that's on the really low end of the spectrum and isn't quite mainstream thinking yet.
Right,
So,
yeah.
By the way, everybody, I'm totally ballparking these figures. Like, it's not like I looked up every single thing we're going to talk about here today and went, that's the retail price for this. No, I didn't do that. I went off, it's roughly $100 or whatever, you know what I mean? So I don't need any emails sent to Drew at Moto80VR. I don't need that.
I literally created some budgets on my lunch break today. I went shopping and I decided to put gear in my cart. So
Nice.
we can have a legit conversation of me buying what I consider to be affordable.
Oh, man.
Not budget, not like super. I mean, some of it's off-brand, but like some of this is name brand shit. I was surprised by the price on some of the name brand stuff. So we can get to that when we get to gear.
I bet you got excited when you were putting that spreadsheet together with all your prices and stuff on there, being the cheap bastard that you are.
I am a cheap bastard, and I like spreadsheets, but in this case, no. It's just in my cart on Rocky Mountain. I left it in there, and it's I wrote it down on this piece of paper.
Well, don't forget to put your affiliate link out there for everyone. Just kidding, just kidding. So, but speaking of
zero advertising,
right, exactly. But speaking of don't forget when you're buying the new bike, you got to factor in your tag, your tax, your title, your dealer prep, your destination fee, maybe some of this tariff BS needs to be factored in. So those are things that you got to think of. Like when you go to the motorcycle dealership and you buy your new motorcycle, it's the price in America, and there's a whole show about this too.
Yeah.
Plus. So don't think you're walking out of there with your $10,000 sticker for $10,000. You're going to be more $12,000 or $13,000 by the time you're done.
We had Mike on from Ride Northern Kentucky forever ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that long ago, but it is in the word of prices. It is now because there's a tariff discussion.
Totally.
It's freight, bike setup, dealer fees, which dealer fees are a government requirement. They have to charge a minimum amount, and then tax, title stuff. So yeah, you're arguably looking at $1,000 to $1,500 extra, I think.
Oh yeah. It's crazy.
That'll change if the market takes a crap. But as of right now, especially if you want a new KTM 390 Adventure R, you're paying a import surcharge. That's a fact.
It's a bunch of money for sure.
Yeah.
Or you can save a bunch of money. Go get yourself a nice used motorcycle and not have to pay all that jazz. And I mean, for me, most adventure bikes, I feel like you're dropping $5 to $10,000 for something that's not just roached out and bombed out and not, you're not. For $10,000, you're probably not in, $1,250 or $1,300 GS money or whatever, but you can get some really nice adventure bikes between $5,000 and $10,000 on the used market.
Some of my favorites to mention for the listeners' benefit.
Yeah.
I've seen first generation Tiger 800s around $5,000 and a couple below. I've seen a couple like $4,300, $4,800 ones out there. Most of those are mag wheels. That's a different episode. Tenere 700s now are around $7,000 used. You can get them as cheap as $7,000, and I've started to see Africa Twins come down to $7,500 to $8,000. So you could get really great motorcycles without all the crazy electronic stuff if you're willing to give that up.
Yeah,
so it's pretty affordable.
I've seen some T7s. You and I have shot each other a couple lately where they're like, this has 500 miles on it, $8,500, $8,000.
Yep.
I'm like, what the world? The COVID pricing strategy is out the door anymore. If you are selling your used motorcycle, side note, and you think you're going to get COVID money and you're going to get retail or above, you are high.
It has to be super rare. Like it really means that like an Ibex 450 right now they're hard to get, and so are obviously the new KTM 390 Adventures. Dealers have them, but as I talked to again Mike, who I just mentioned, he got 5. They're already sold.
Crazy.
So it's like that. Those will be limited, but if you're not particular about something that's new, you can get a deal.
Well, they just opened a new Aprilia CF Moto and Moto Guzzi dealer in Blairsville, Georgia, and I was talking to those guys. They can't keep that CF Moto 450 on the floor. Every one of them sold before it hits the floor, and he's not even gotten an 800 yet.
Yep.
So hot commodity.
Inversely, I got a text from a guy on Instagram today. He bought a 2024 701. I'm pretty confident it was new.
Yeah.
He said he got a killer deal. So I may have misspoke, but there's 24s laying around.
There are 24s.
If you aren't in love with the latest and greatest, you can buy a 2024 and get a smoking deal right now.
Oh, yeah, dude. I got my buddy Bobby Woolridge owns Woolies. They sell, I think they actually also sell CF Moto and BMW and Husky Gas KTM. I was looking around on his website today. 24 GSs, 1250 GSs still available. He actually has a 24 701 Husky Enduro. It's like 10 and change. I'm like, dang, dude. That's mighty tempting. But they're out there
too, if I remember correctly. It's $13,000 MSRP for a new 701 or 690 right now. If you can get a killer deal.
Yeah, definitely a good shop around. The time is now. So that's what I got to say about the actual bike purchase itself. Insurance is also something that I'm learning is a pretty wide scope as to what you're going to pay. So you and I were talking, and me and my brother were talking earlier. I was shocked to learn, I hope he doesn't get mad at me here, $1,000 a year in Kentucky, which apparently is because it's the second highest state for insurance, second only to California, according to his insurance agent. But for his 890 full coverage, about $1,000 deductible, it's about $1,000 a year. I pay $315 on my 1090. It also has full coverage. I live in Georgia. So, in $1,000 deductible. Where are you at on that spectrum? Do you know? I know with your 80 bikes, you might get some discounts, but
that's what I was telling you before the show. Ironically, that oh my lord, what year was that? 2006 Harley Sportster I had for a while was the highest insurance cost I paid.
Really?
It was the oldest bike in the garage, carbureted, and that bike was the most expensive. I assume it's theft. Like that's the reason why they made me pay more.
Yeah.
So when I sold that, to some degree, I got a minor discount, but that's a joke, right? When you have a whole bunch of bikes, to some degree you get a discount for a multi-bike because they kind of know you can't ride them all at once, the miles stay down, blah blah blah. So I got a little bit, but at the same time I think somewhere between $300 and $450 a year I think is what I pay. I do know some other side things about Kentucky that are relevant. In Kentucky, like for example, you were talking about tags, it's $60 ish, $40 to $60 ish a bike for me to title a bike in the Ohio, to put a tag on it so I'll get a plate for it.
Okay.
But in Kentucky, you pay, your tag cost is based on vehicle value.
Yeah.
So my buddy Mike was telling me about, what it costs him to do trucks and other whatnot. It's hundreds of dollars a year to put a tag on your vehicle. So know that now that the motorcycle realm is similar, but I don't remember what they are.
It's so weird that each state handles that differently.
And it was interesting because him and I had, we're riding together, we're having a long conversation, and I pay $60 a year, but there's a cop behind every blade of grass in Ohio. So they're farming revenue out of giving away speeding tickets because there's Ohio State Patrol everywhere on the highways here. Whereas Kentucky doesn't have that, and they pay a lower gas tax. So they tax everyone directly by making you pay more to get on the road. Whereas in Ohio, getting on the road is cheap, but if you break the law, you're getting a speeding ticket very rapidly.
Interesting.
So, it's how it is. It's like they're getting it somehow. They're going to fund all their programs, and there's orange barrels from Cincinnati to Cleveland, kids. So it's like they're spending the money. Right?
Hey, based on when I rode up to see you a couple months ago, there's orange barrels from Atlanta to Dayton. Right. So that's not a problem. And it's interesting. My dad, I was talking to him today, unrelated, but he mentioned to me that he can't remember the last time. He lives in Louisville. He hasn't seen a cop just pulled somebody over on the side of the road in years. So, he's like, I can't even tell you the last time he's seen that happen. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's constantly. It was, Sunday coming back from Kentucky. As soon as I got into Ohio, somebody was pulled over in northern part of Cincinnati.
Really? They're like, welcome to Ohio.
It's ubiquitous, right? It's 45 miles from Dayton to Cincinnati, and it is now almost continuous, 3 lanes, almost continuous city. There's an exit every 3 to 5 miles for the most part. And now they've actually broken holes in the barriers in the center lane so that the OSP can park in the middle of the highway, because it's just a barrier. That's how urban it is now. That there's no grass in between the median anymore. But they actually broke out sections of the barrier so that they could get more OSP in there to give out more tickets.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
that's crazy. In Georgia, it seems to be county by county. Like if you're going down I-75 to Florida, that when you hit the Lowndes County line, you better slow your ass down and all the way to the Florida state line.
What's the name of that? Jefferson Township. It's a municipality right before the edge of Columbus as well, if you're headed from Dayton to Columbus on 70. It's
same thing.
But it's like I said, it's 45 miles of solid city. Like Cincinnati and Dayton are essentially merging into the megalopolis, right?
Yeah.
So it's fish in a barrel. They're constantly police everywhere.
Well, one thing that I never even thought of with the secret cost of adventure riding is the fun tax. So, while we're talking about police, you may as well just go ahead and mention getting speeding tickets, which, knock on wood, I'm pretty good about not getting. But, that's a thing you may want to factor in.
The last ticket I got was on the Scrambler, which is hilarious because that bike is not fast.
Were you going downhill? Is there a hill to go down in Ohio?
Ohio 286 in between Mount Orab and what is that 134 that heads down into Rossville. You and I went part of that way to go down to Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
They were building a giant solar farm, and I think that the OSP decided
you pointed this out to me.
They decided to set up a speed trap, and I actually it was one of those spidey sense things. Did I just see the outline of a Dodge Charger against that barn just now? And I rolled off the throttle, and I did, and I was doing 70 miles an hour, and I'm 55. I'm
Oopsie.
sure. Yeah, and he came up right behind me, I'm like, I can't believe that guy was literally hiding in some dude's driveway. That's not public property. None of this matters, right? They're giving me a ticket anyway, right? And I'm trying to remember. I think that guy sped away. I think he gave me a ticket and sped away to go find somebody else.
Really?
He left me on the side of what is arguably just a 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere. But I think they had a bunch of construction traffic, so they decided to go out and hand out tickets left and right because there were dump trucks going up through there all the time.
Gotcha.
But it's you're going to spend $150. Plus, your insurance rates are going to go up, right?
Yeah.
I'm old enough that wasn't significant, but it will matter, especially anyone who's under, 25, under 30.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I do all I can to not get speeding tickets because I drive for a living, so I try not to have that affect me too badly. But
you're smarter than me, sir.
Well, I don't know if it's a smarts thing or I don't like getting in trouble, to be honest, but that's the way it goes. So anyway, that's insurance. What about the last thing I really wanted to talk about with the motorcycle purchase is considering your fuel. So, there's, of course, all states are different. Here in the metro Atlanta, we're pretty cheap as far as gas goes, and pretty consistently that way compared to the rest of the country. But, you got to consider you getting a bike that's going to require premium. You're going to be able to run on 87. What kind of range is your motorcycle getting? This is where I'm leaning into you for the math that you teased me with about what your economy is and all that good stuff.
I was just like, okay, $2,000 divided by 42 miles a gallon times $3 a gallon is $143 a year.
Dang.
I was like, that's insanity.
Yeah.
I almost would get my calculator out and go, did I do that math right? Because it's not a lot. And then I did the math because I'm doing closer to 10,000 miles a year. And it's $700 a year with similar gas mileage, right?
Yeah.
My Scrambler gets about 42 miles to the gallon.
Okay.
I think the 250 actually gets closer to 50, 60. It does better. It's a small bore thing, but it runs on premium. So to your point, right?
The WR runs on premium?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. That's the one thing. I got that huge tank on it, which is awesome. But it hurts more because I'm spending $1 more a gallon of gas.
You're just watching that dollar amount roll over.
Yeah, it's bonkers because it's like, well, I guess it's cool because I can ride all the way from from 200 miles away back to the house and not stop.
Did I just fill up my car or my motorcycle?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. But yeah, my car gets 31 miles to the gallon as a non-hybrid. So it's really good in the car range. So I'm sure lots of people who have pickup trucks and whatnot are like, well, motorcycles are awesome. I'm getting double the gas mileage. But in my realm, 42 miles a gallon. I think the Harley got 38. 39, 40. It wasn't very good either.
Yeah, that's 950 adventure range right there.
Yeah, it's not
slightly better actually.
I think I get 40 if I'm going fast on the highway with the Tenere. If I remember correctly. That's 688 cc or 690 cc, whatever it is. It doesn't get very good gas mileage above 55, 65. And it's got a lot more air resistance. Anyway, I'm going on about nothing.
Nah.
But, yeah, it is something to think about. And the other thing is, I like rural gas stations, and sometimes you pay less at rural gas stations, and sometimes you pay more. It kind of depends on the location.
In my experience, you pay more most of the time.
But availability of 87 is tougher. Sorry, that's what I mentioned earlier, is the gas tax in Kentucky is not as high, so when I'm down there, I can usually get gas cheaper than get it up here.
Yeah.
But there is that whole, that doesn't completely relate on cost, but the premium's harder to find, so you may have to buy it someplace where you didn't want to buy it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely something to consider. On the KTM, I actually have a bad fuel dongle you can plug in, and if you're running poor, lesser quality gas than you want to, it won't grenade your motorcycle. So that's kind of nice too. But
it's almost like they could make that a standard feature, because I think cars have knock sensors since the 80s.
It's almost like they didn't need to sell me $100 plug-in, but they wanted to anyway. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So for me, those are the major things to think about with your motorcycle purchase. Now, we can talk about parts and stuff like that, but before we do, what do you have to add to that category, if anything?
No, I think bike-wise, you really nailed it. I mean, we talked about the extra stuff for, tags, speeding tickets, and whatnot. But for the bike itself, I think you're right. I was much more interested in gear and hard parts and some
I
other
agree.
stuff. And, yeah, you definitely have a pretty awesome list of stuff.
Well, there's definitely some things that you asked me in the quick shift section of the intro there. A couple questions, and for me personally, I've never found a stock seat that works well for me ever. Yeah. And some guys don't mind stock seats, like especially dirt bike guys, like racers and stuff. They don't mind it, But I mean, to me, having a nice wide seat is worth its weight in gold. And I mean, you're dropping between, like, I think a Seat Concepts is probably the cheapest option, like mainstream option these days. And I think they're charging like $300, $250 or $300 off the top of my head for that seat. You can go all the way up to like a Russell Daylong seat, which is like the cream of the crop for all the iron button touring guys, and they're phenomenal seats. They look nerdy as hell on your dual sport bikes and smaller adventure bikes, but I guess you can't see it when it's under your ass. So, but those are like $800 if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in that range. So
the last time I looked, it was $400, and that was like 2016-ish, right?
For a Russell Daylong?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was the base price, right?
Yeah,
so I'm like,
yeah.
who knows what they are now? So
yeah, they're astronomical. They might be. I've never really considered them because they're kind of too much for me.
Yep.
To be honest, I'm a Corbin guy. So, everybody has their own brand.
This podcast is over.
Yeah, I hear you. I like them, man. I like them wide and firm, baby, and that's how I like it.
You're dead on. I bought two seat concepts this year, so it was $285 for my WR.
Okay.
$385 to get the one piece for the Tenere. And in both cases, I like to keep the stock seat.
Yes.
So you pay extra. You can get a cover from Seat Concepts for some bikes and save like $100 by not buying the pan. So if you're not worried about resale, used prices, however that may shake out, or if in my case it's kind of like, well, if I know I'm going to go race my WR in the mud, I'm just putting the stock seat back on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ruin my nice Seat Concepts. It's meant for comfort, not for
racing. Right.
So that's another reason why I like to do that. But yeah, you're right in the range there for sure.
Yeah, it's, to me, that's one of the first things I've got to get. I know that's me. Now, like I said, your mileage may vary. I don't really have things in an order, but one of the next big things I look for is foot pegs, because stock foot pegs for me are too narrow. I know they make some giant foot pegs that are just humongous, and I don't think all that's necessary. I'm an old school Fastway foot peg guy. I've had the same foot pegs on my last 4 motorcycles. I just keep taking them off and buying the fit kits for the new bike. But generally, I think for foot pegs, you're $100, $300, depending on what you want to get. Don't you normally run stock pegs, or am I mistaken? Yeah,
No,
you're a stock guy, right?
I'm 5'10", now presently about 175-ish, and I wear a size 10 boot. So to me, everything is technically built for me.
Yeah.
And most importantly, my issue with pegs is aluminum.
Yes, correct.
That aluminum where I like to ride is a serious risk. Folks can go back and listen to Andy doing the hard enduro.
Yep.
Andy was worried about the way that the pegs are set up on his Tenere, and he put on a set of aftermarket aluminum, and they broke in the first mile.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the beef I have with aftermarket pegs, is they like to use aluminum for weight. That's not everyone, but that's the most common, right?
For sure.
Aluminum. So you're gaining some things, but everything's a trade-off, right? So you have to deal with
everything is. I think IMS makes some nice aftermarket steel pegs. But yeah, like the Fastways, they're built in aluminum. I'm gonna say this, I've got hundreds of thousands of miles on motorcycles in all kinds of terrains, and I, knock on wood, have never broken a foot peg. So yeah, it can happen. No, it's never happened to me. So when it does, maybe I'll change my tune.
I need to come up with a catchphrase, because this is what it is. We have to watch out now that there are 2 very distinct people in the adventure dual sport space. You do have some very senior off-road folks who've been in it for a long time who make certain choices, and you have other people who have not been in it for a long time who are much more concerned about perception and the artisticness of their bike or whatever else it is, and they buy things. And lots of people have lots of things to say on the internet. You and I think, are in that crowd, right?
We may have a few opinions, sure. Yeah.
So that is the catch. That I would say, like in your case, you've been riding in the woods for a long time. You've been riding that bike for a long time. You know the performance of that machine. So you understand the consequences of that. What I get worried about is people are like, oh, I don't like how narrow the foot pegs are. And it's like, hey, if you've not invested a lot of time in riding off-road and you want to get into some of the aggressive stuff, understand that those pegs are at least a liability for you. And just be prepared for it, right? That's the biggest case. Well, like you said, you've been doing this for a long time, so you're going to have a different set of outcomes.
And it's not that I'm 100% right either, because I'm not. I mean, I actually took a intro to adventure riding clinic with my buddy Tom Nagel, who owns a company called Moto Ways that does clinics and lessons and all that. And he looked at my foot pegs and he hated them because they're rectangular. They're not rounded on the ends. And for him, he's an old enduro guy. He's like, I got to be able to stand on the pegs and move my foot around on these. And with those square pegs, you can't do that. And I'm so used to it. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm going to run them because I just like them. You know what I mean? But he's probably right. So, yeah, it's just different strokes for different folks. There's all kinds of things out there to work for people. So,
no, for sure.
We have beat pegs to death, my friend.
Yep. Hey, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. I knew I was going to get you going with that one. So, what about a skid plate? That's definitely something you put on, right?
I actually said, I looked back, I didn't quote exactly because I had a lot of the gear, and that's kind of one of the things I wanted to add to this. Skid plate, I made a list of all the stuff I absolutely paid for on the Tenere.
Yeah.
You can go nuts on Farkles. I've not really spent a lot of money, in my opinion, to get the Tenere ready to do what I want it to do. Actually, it reminds me, I left $180 off of it, so there you go.
Oh, no.
It hit me just now. But yeah, people are going to buy a lot of stuff for their...
Did you buy a skid plate for your T7 or no?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd that cost?
I think I paid $250-ish, somewhere between $180 and $250-ish. I forget what it was. It's the AXP skid plate. I think if I had to do it over again, I would buy the Tusk skid plate for $200.
Okay, and is the Tusk one also a polymer like the AXP is?
No, it's aluminum with a polymer underneath it. And this is just one of those things, right? Like Andy and I have compared notes a lot. He beats the crap out of his Tenere, so I know what's going to happen when I do horrible things.
Yeah.
I like polymer skid plates over the aluminum ones, and for the listener's benefit, that's both ends, right? Like some skid plates for aluminum are really cheap, whereas polymers are really expensive, so it kind of depends on the brand and what it is you want exactly.
Yeah.
I thought AXP was relatively affordable, and at the time, I think it was actually cheaper than other things. But the issue with most of these new middleweight adventure bikes are the engine. I don't know what you want to call it. Like it's a subframe. I hate that we now talk about the subframe, and that's two different places. But it's like the frame rails, the bolt-on frame rails that go under the engine from the Tenere and now the Transalp and whatnot. They will bend under extreme stress, and so metal skid plates, and I think Camel's going to come out with a like dog bone style like tie together. So a polymer skid plate, they're reinforcing it with something, but they move, and that's how you will end up breaking oil pans and potentially breaking engine mounts and some other stuff. Because they're not strong enough on their own. I'm pretty sure that I've actually bent them on the Scrambler. I think I finally hit something in a race where the whole bike came down on one of those, and the Scramblers are massive. Like, you can't tell.
It's almost like they weren't built for racing woods races.
100% right. So I'm just saying, like, the advantage to the aluminum is now that you've hardened the entire frame, it's more rigid.
Yeah.
Obviously, all that weight has to go somewhere, and that's an entire discussion about cast versus aluminum, and let's not get into metrology.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was more curious than anything, but there are both versions available for sure, so people need to make their own decisions and educate themselves on that. And that's definitely a $300-500 investment somewhere in there. I mean, you get like a Black Dog skid plate, which is in the KTM world, that's seen as like the like chorus of angels sings when the UPS man delivers it to your doorstep, and it weighs 800 pounds and it's 28 millimeters thick of steel from Wonder
Black
Woman's
Dog makes-
Island.
Yeah, it's bulletproof gear. Like
Yeah.
the bulletproof shit they make is no joke. It looks like a gun safe. That's no
It
exaggeration.
does. It's insanity. But they're out there, but they're mighty expensive, man.
Yeah, Jesse bags and Black Dogs.
Yeah.
I want to throw that out as well. That like the Tenere stock skid plate is really skinny aluminum, but it is actually probably plenty of skid plate for the average consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's the same thing, right? You have customers who aren't really doing a lot of off-road, like they want to do gravel roads and whatnot, and the gravel will dent it. That's literally what happened to mine. I didn't replace it right away. I wanted to ride on it for a little while and see how it went. And it's like, okay, yes, it'll get dented and whatnot, but if you're not getting wild, you don't really need to spend a bunch of money on new skid plate when you have something like a Tenere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the old Tigers, right, that came with plastic skid plates. Like, they were hilariously stupid. They're getting better about that. The one that, the Himalayan one that came on the Himalayan, that's not the stock one, but it's like their aftermarket one was really solid.
Yeah, the 1090s is awful. It's like basically a muffler, like not a muffler, but a header guard. It just bolts on and through. It's like this little bitty thing, and I'm like, no, that's the first thing to get bought.
My point is, like, if you're the kind of person who's just going to take it easy and go ride some Forest Service roads, your stock skid plate, if it's like the Teneres, is probably fine.
Totally.
Now, if you're the kind of person who isn't going to get super wild, but you know that you're clumsy, totally worth the expense, no problem.
Yeah.
And then obviously, those of us know that you're like, no, I'm going to go do a bunch of inappropriate stuff, and I'm probably going to break something. Like, okay, that absolutely makes sense. But it's a lot of stuff, right? Like, if you want to look the part, that's fine, but don't feel pressured by the community. Like, oh, you got to put a better skid plate on that thing. Like that, it really depends on what you're doing.
Dude, it's to me, even gravel roads have their place for a proper skid plate. I mean, dude, every time I'm riding down the gravel road and I hear rocks hit that thing, and you know as well as I do, you hear pong, ping.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yep, I just paid for that skid plate. Yep, I just paid for that skid plate again. To me, they're just worth their weight in gold.
But to your point, I mean, we can get into tires when it comes into, but yeah, if you're riding just gravel roads and you're bringing the gnarliest knobby with you, yeah, that tire is going to throw gravel into your bike constantly.
Yep.
So did you actually need that? Like,
yeah, totally, no doubt, man. In terms of protection, what about? Are you a crash bar guy? You run crash bars on that bike?
No, and that's actually what made me think about that. Actually, no, I lied. I did put the 180 on there. I wrote crash bars down, but I actually bought radiator guards for my Tenere.
Ooh, that's a good one. I forgot about radiator guards. Ironic, since my brother's going through that right now.
So, and that's, well, and you could take that a different way. So the radiator guards on my Tenere are not front shields. They're frame shields, so that if the bike falls over, the radiator doesn't bend. It's not about protecting the front. Now, lots of dirt bike guys know that you can buy radiator braces, and most of them are also forward guards as well as the side, and it reinforces the whole thing. And dirt bike people are super into this, especially enduro. So if you know anybody that does that, so any hardcore dual sport people already know this. But from the adventure race space, it seems like nobody really talks about the radiator other than putting like aluminum screen in front of them, which I think is what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But engine guards is a huge thing, and I'm not a big fan of the engine bars, and the reason is the amount of foliage here on the East Coast that will get stuck in between it and your bike. We talked about that on the Himalayan episode. That's the biggest risk. And I've seen, like I said, they're better today than they used to be, but I've seen lots of photos of people who've got hung up off-road and the engine bar peels back and penetrates the engine.
Yeah.
They're way better today than they used to be. These companies have learned for the most part, but I still see the old design. I saw some today for the Tenere when I was looking it up. I'm like, that's a liability waiting to happen to me.
It's so bike dependent too, right? So like on my 950s, I ended up taking the crash bars off, and I just ran little plastic covers that came on the later 990s, and I retrofitted them to fit on the 950 tanks, and it was great. I didn't have to mess with the stupid crash bars anymore. On the 1090, as you know, I low-sided that thing at the beginning of the year on the gravel, and it just destroyed the crash bars.
Yeah.
But it saved my tank, and I'm convinced that without those crash bars, my tank would have been totally roached. So I ended up buying new crash bars to put on there. I was glad to have them. But to your point, yeah, if they're low, the ones on the 1090 are high. They're tank guards. You know, when you're talking about an engine guard, that's down lower and definitely in the way of a lot of brush.
And they're integrated. That's the thing.
lot of times,
Yeah, a lot of them are mounted around the engine to help it,
Yeah.
and then they bring them up toward the tank as tank protection.
Yeah.
Like the Scrambler has, like, they call them engine dresser bars because it's technically a cruiser, depending on where you look it up. They didn't reinforce the center, and if the spacer that I put in there moves out of the way for some reason, the engine bars will come in and can actually make contact with the engine. I've seen that happen before.
Yep.
And that's not all that rare either. Lots of these guards are sold, and if you land one way, you're good. If the bike lands in a different way,
of course,
they bend in, they bend out. And to me, I think it's the argument about cost, like you said. Do you want to pay to fix the bike if you break something? Or are you hoping that if you go to sell the bike, you just take the rashed engine guards off and just sell it? It's the strategy, right? Like, what do you want to explain? Because I think, lots of people don't buy bikes forever. I think if you're a forever owner, which is kind of who I am, you're in the minority. I could be wrong. Again, send hate mail.
Yeah, no, totally. To me, I'm looking to protect critical components of the motorcycle so I don't have to walk out of the woods, So, yeah, it's highly bike dependent, and like, I mean, dude, like Dana had those crash bars on his Tiger 800 that broke his frame because it transferred the energy. Did it break his frame? Or remember that? It was several years ago. I think it was his frame, but the impact transferred the energy from the crash bars to the frame of the motorcycle and destroyed it or something.
And that's what I was saying about skid plates. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, totally.
As you make something rigid, the energy has to go somewhere.
Right.
And the reality is that a cast aluminum engine is really heavy and arguably the weakest link, depending on how it lands.
Yeah.
So we don't want rocks to go through the cast aluminum engine. However,
totally.
If everything else is hard, that's the last soft thing.
Totally. Yep, absolutely. Well, if you decide to put crash bars on, or engine bars, or dresser bars, or highway peg mounting bars, or auxiliary light mounting bars, or whatever you want to call these things, you're a couple $100 in the hole for those things. So add those into your list.
It was $180 for the Camel ADV radiator braces for the T7, and it's $180 for the Tusk and crash bars for the Tenere. So you're paying $200 either way.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I was about that same price when I replaced the KTM ones. Yeah, and I just replaced them with OEM KTM ones. But yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to stay on the protection theme here. I know that you're a handguards guy. You got to be.
100%.
Yeah.
It was actually the first thing that I bought for the Tenere. If I remember correctly. It may have incidentally been the second thing because I think somebody had a second-hand item that they wanted to get rid of, they weren't using, and I wasn't going to turn it down.
Yeah.
Handguards, $100 because I dropped the Tenere off-road and I knew the plastic ones weren't going to be good, and it broke the clutch lever immediately. So.
I don't even know why they put these plastic ones on these adventure bikes, dude. It's simply throwaway plastic. I mean, I've never owned a bike where I kept those on. If you're a road rider, fine. If you're just trying to keep the wind off your knuckles, fine. But even for that, those OEM plastic ones suck. I mean, a good aluminum backed, and I know that the dirt bike racers don't want wraparound aluminum back bars because they're worried about their hands slipping off and breaking their wrists and all that. It's not a concern. I want to not on the adventure bike for me anyway. Like, I want to protect my levers. That's number one. Like, to keep the weather off my hands. That's number two. And a good set of like a Cherbys handguards are $100. Barkbusters has become a huge brand because they make model specific mounts. Those are a little bit more, I think. They're like $150, maybe 200 bones for those things. But yeah, that's a must in my opinion.
Yeah, I forget what I paid, but let's call it $80 for Tusk brand, and I looked up and I've seen some of the Cherbys that I like better at this point. So
yeah I love my Cherbys ones. They're fantastic, dude. They're a little bit more money, but not much, Yeah,
I rode with those Cherbys on that Himalayan again for thousands of miles, and I was like, I like these. I do like the bigger, like the larger plastic deflectors for all the things you said about weather and whatnot. But I did think those Cherbys were pretty cool. But
did that Himalayan come with those? Someone put those on.
The dealer.
Okay, he put those on.
Yeah, he installed those on there. But they sell an aftermarket set as well that comes from Royal Enfield that I think is probably as cheap, if not cheaper, than the Acerbis that come on there. I don't remember the price off the top of my head. We talk about in the episode.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I was just curious.
Lots of stuff out there. But yeah, to me, handguards is probably the number one thing because that's the funny thing that more often than not, those are actually the silly drops. So like when I dropped the Tenere, I did it really slow. It was in the mud. I missed the way that the ground was shaped, and I started to steer up on the center of the rut and didn't see the rut. Like, just it was one of those things. I was looking around at a turn.
Womp
and
womp.
Yeah, and there I was. I was laying on the ground at 5-10 miles an hour, but it did rash up the side cover pretty bad. Didn't do anything else, but it scratched it pretty good, and it broke a brake lever. So I'm like, had I had hand guards. Yeah, I would have rashed up a side cover, but it was like, that was going to happen anyway.
Right, yeah, you're like
it's my hands, that's going to happen anyway.
Put a Band-Aid on it, it'll be fine.
So, yeah, there's some beautiful shark teeth on there now, so we don't see that anymore.
There you go, dude. Am I missing anything when it comes to protection?
I don't think I put anything else. I mean, we can go nuts with custom brake levers, folding shift levers, like I talked about. The Himalayan doesn't have that. So you're going to spend $35 to $65 for folding shift levers. You
didn't even think about levers. It's a good point.
Yeah, it's an extra for the Tenere. I don't plan on spending the money. Like, I'm not saying I won't. I'm delaying it. But the truth is the brake pedal sucks on the Tenere, and I may end up spending another I think it might be $150 for a Camel brake lever.
Okay.
Because the brake is terrible on that. BMW owners, historically, if you own an older one, that you frequently have to buy a custom brake because BMW built the GS brake in a way that it's very difficult to adjust for a standing position. So they sell a bunch of aftermarket brakes so that you have like a two-step, you have like a street height and like an off-road height. Like there's a bunch of silly stuff.
Yeah,
like
they
that
flip down and all that jazz too.
So you can get nuts with steg pegs. People like that for off-road. That's really, we're deep in the Farkle territory after that.
Yeah, that's if you're going all the way to that, which, by the way, I'm sorry, steg pegs, dude, on an adventure bike. If you don't know what steg pegs are, go ahead and Google it. If you disagree with me, go ahead and disagree with me, but that's silly.
There's a great cross-training enduro YouTube video all about steg pegs.
Really?
And that guy pulls no punches, and he likes them, and you really talk to him. But then if you ever want like an honest, full, like no pulled punches opinion, that's a good one.
Check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, there's all kinds of little bits and trinkets you can buy for your bike. I mean, everything from swing arm bolt covers, that's $10 or $20 here or there, but go ahead.
I was going to say, so I literally broke the headlight on my Scrambler. I rode with a broken headlight for years.
Nice segue lighting. I like it.
Yeah, well, it's not about lighting.
Oh, but it's going to be.
Headlight guards. Everybody loves the headlight guards.
Yeah.
And if you're racing, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
But for the average consumer, I had a headlight guard, and I still got a rock that cracked the headlight. Right. So it's like,
it's not 100% thing, but dude, they have their place. Headlight guards are pretty nice.
Yeah. So just understand that people are into it, and I may eventually buy one for the Tenere. But there's a whole, like I said, this is another one of those things. Like, what is the statistical likelihood versus I like the way it looks?
There's a lot of that. I had on my 1090. I do not technically have a headlight guard. I have the Raid fairing, and it kind of has a little piece of plexi over the headlights, but. On my Tiger 800, I had like a mesh, and it drove me nuts driving at night because the damn headlight threw those shadows all over the road, and I couldn't deal with it. The Scrambler has a chrome mesh headlight, dude. When I rode that one when I worked at the Triumph dealership, I was like, this is garbage. This has to go. Couldn't deal with it. Way too many drawbacks.
I took it to when I first got that bike. Within weeks, I plastidiped it.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, so I took it and I plastidiped it, and then not too many years later, I put it in the blast booth, and I painted it matte black so that it would stop doing that.
We didn't actually say what the problem was. The light reflects off that chrome and bounces right back in your face. It was absolutely awful, man. But
it's terrible.
That kind of brought me to my next thing, which was lighting is a big thing a lot of people do. My 1090, the lights were atrocious. It still came with a halogen main bulb and it has this like weird V of LEDs that I don't think they do diddly squat when my brother and I went and rode what we call the Dirt Skyway we rode it at night a couple years ago. He was on an older 1150 GS, and I was on my 1090 before I made any changes, and he was having to lead the way because his lights on his 15-year-old, bike compared to my brand new KTM, I couldn't even see what I was doing. So that was one of the first things I did, was change the lighting. And you can buy auxiliary lights, you can buy LED bulbs. Have you ever upgraded any of your lighting on your bikes?
Oh yeah, that's ironic, right? Like, so I bought the Scrambler in 2016, and that was in the first year of having that bike. I paid the big money to get the Denali D4.
Ooh, you a high roller!
Oh, they were hundreds of dollars.
Yeah,
and
they're insane.
I still have them, and I've moved them from bike to bike.
I would too.
24-hour race with them and some other stuff, and there's a whole host of things that go with doing all that stuff. And I think, especially if you're going to do a lot of miles and you're going to ride on the highway and whatnot and back roads at night, like, they've earned their keep. I mean, I've ridden the Dragon at 3 a.m. with those on and with a lot of confidence and stuff, and that stuff works. But I don't know if it's because I don't ride at night as much as I used to. And I think also lighting has improved.
It has,
so, like, the Scrambler headlight was the worst headlight known to man, but the Tenere headlight I think is great. Now, it's funny because anyone who has a Tenere is probably going to complain about the lights, and I'm like, that's how far we've come. That, I had a 2013 Scrambler, and now I have a 2023 Tenere, and I'm like, well, this headlight's amazing compared to that old one, and I see why people don't like it, but I'm like, it was so bad before this.
That's crazy.
So I've since I bought a Holly. Holly has old school 4 3/4 headlights or whatever it is. It's a small headlight bulb that comes on the Scrambler. You can get, that's the same size as a lot of classic cars. So I custom fitted. I had to change the mounting ring a little bit. I had to cut it and weld it. But yeah, I put that in the Scrambler, and it cost me like $200.
That's cool.
It was one of the most affordable name brand headlights you could get.
There you go.
In. It was just I had to kind of rework the mounting a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm into that. So.
Hey, you can go cheap on it. There's all kinds of auxiliary lights on Amazon. You $50 get you something, and I've run plenty of cheap auxiliary lights on my motorcycles. There was a brand called Alpina, Alpena. They make one specifically for motorcycles. I had them on my Tiger 800. They were small little auxiliary lights. They were $50. Wiring harness. They were phenomenal. They lasted me forever. The KTM I have not put auxiliary lights on, but I upgraded the main lighting, and so you're $50 to $1,000 if you want to be.
And that's what's cool is that now that the off-road space has gotten so into this with Jeeps and side-by-sides and whatnot, we get to ride that wave that the market's gotten huge, and so we're getting the cost benefit, whereas motorcycle lights have been highly specialized, and we're kind of getting screwed because I had a Denali headlight for the Scrambler on my wish list forever. It was probably $400 or $500. I'm like, I can't justify.
They're so expensive.
In lights.
Yep.
But then I got that Holly light. But I'm thinking I may buy, like, Tusk makes like an off-road light bar. That might be what I put on the WR if I would decide to do 24 hours of Appalachia to race that on my WR. Yeah. Because it's a 5-6 LED light bar that's made to fit dirt bikes, blah 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 blah, and it's not $200. It's probably $100 for the light and some $25-$30 for mounts.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of options out there now. So if you're gonna ride at night, that's probably something you're gonna at least start looking at. Windscreen is the other thing a lot of people swap out, including myself. I'm trying to think of a stock windscreen I haven't modified, and I can't think of one.
Anyone who's getting into motorcycles, to me, this is one of the most breathtaking things that you will ever spend money on. For the average consumer, if you're riding a bike with no windscreen and you're pricing a windscreen, you're going to have a lot of sticker shock. Yeah. Because a very small, affordable windscreen is probably $300 for a lot of bikes that don't come with them. Mm-hmm. My Tenere, I think it's $125 to $150 to get a shorty screen. But I remember looking at windshields for my Speedmaster back in the day, and it was like, you want $350? And we're talking 2013.
Wow.
Like, can you imagine how much what is it, National Cycle, I think is the name of it.
That's like the generic windscreen company.
Well, ironically, National Cycle actually supplies windscreens to name brands.
Oh,
like
yeah?
they're actually, but they do have a whole bunch of like entry level. I think like, yeah, Memphis shades and whatnot. If you're in the cruiser market, like these are the, you know, universal fit style. Or whatnot.
Right.
Even though National Cycle makes polycarbonate, I could do a whole thing on windscreens. But yeah, it's expensive. Yeah, like if you want a removable one for your Harley, buckle up.
Oh yeah.
It's $500. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Yeah, you know, I'm used to like the 950s. We would chop them down with a hacksaw, basically. Yeah. Again, I got the Raid setup on my 1090, which I did not pay retail for that setup, but that's $1,000 for the windscreen, and it's the lighting and the windscreen. That's part of why I bought it. It was two birds with one stone kind of thing. Yeah. Dude, I couldn't. The 1090's windscreen is adjustable, the stock one. I couldn't get in a position to where I could ride over 60 miles an hour without my head giving me a headache. I mean, it rattled my fillings out of my teeth, you know, and just from the head shake. It was terrible.
Same story. I have the Tenere. It's new, and again, I'm 5'10". These bikes are designed for me. The windshield is too tall.
Yeah.
So the buffeting hits me right at eye level, which is a problem because that makes your head shake around. So I find myself always hunched down.
Totally.
On the highway.
Terrible posture for it. Look at us right now. We're like,
or I'm really hot. Like the weather's been miserable. It's 90 plus degrees again.
Yeah.
And so I'm hot on the back roads because it's really tall. So there's something to that. It's
absolutely.
Fly screen for my scrambler. I've had it since day one. That's $125 back in the day. I bet they're up to $150 now, but
yeah, you get the Triumph tax on that too. They're proud of their aftermarket shit, dude.
Dart was into it, but
they are. I got a couple biggies to end this off with, but one that is controversial and some will do and some will not is exhaust. Yep. You running stock exhaust?
No, but I have caveats.
Okay, let's hear the caveats.
Man, I got quite the story now.
Uh-oh.
First things first, I actually lost the baffle to my Camel ADV pipe over the weekend, so I'm getting a replacement soon.
How did you lose it?
I took it out when I first got it.
Uh-huh.
And when they put it on there, I think they Loctite it pretty good because it's a stainless steel screw into an aluminum flange. And when I put it back in, I don't know if I didn't put it in right, whatever it is. I don't blame their quality, and they're covering under warranty. I told them I would pay for it. Like I said, hey, I'll pay for it. Like, Drew, you bought it less than a year. We'll cover it under warranty. So shout out to Camel ADV. They're awesome.
Nice.
So they're sending me we'll call it a $25 baffle since I lost it. But
that's awesome.
The screw bat had backed out, and I had been watching it all day, and I had tightened it up at least twice in the past 48 hours. And all of a sudden I was like, oh man, I think that baffle's coming loose. Oh no, it's gone. Like it
really?
Yeah. Huh. So I don't. All that to say, I don't really care for loud exhaust anymore.
Yeah.
I welded baffles into my Scrambler custom exhaust.
Oh yeah.
So I like the weight reduction, but I'm getting to be an old man where I don't like it to be obnoxious anymore because I'm on the highway for a long time. It hurts my ears even with earplugs.
Yeah.
But I paid extra for the Camel exhaust because it changes the mount on the Tenere. Because the Tenere, you can mess up your swing arm if you drop it enough times and don't pay attention to the fact that the exhaust has moved. And it's, like you said, it's a bike-specific issue, right? Mm-hmm. So I still run my stock WR exhaust, and I want a custom exhaust for the same reason. That is a giant steel can, and it weighs a pile of...
They're so heavy.
Yeah, it's like I can drop, let's call it 4 to 6 pounds off the back of the bike, which does change the way it responds. And if you have soft suspension, like the Scrambler... Scrambler is a completely different bike without 12 pounds of exhaust on the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so your shocks are doing a lot less work, I guess, for lack of a better term. They're getting a lot more done than they used to.
Yeah.
So to me, that's why I like custom exhaust. But the truth is, like, I get most people are doing it for the sound and the feeling. And yeah, my Tenere sounds amazing without that baffle in it. But it's like I can't ride on the highway for 2 hours like that. I'll go deaf.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, I've got an aftermarket on my 1090. It's a Wings exhaust. I like it because it's half the size, if not smaller than that, of the stock boat anchor that they put on there. So yeah, it's in these modern adventure bikes. For some reason, they put these exhausts out where they're gonna get just smashed to smithereens when a bike gets dropped, you know. And I've had to actually replace mine comes with a little carbon fiber guard on there. I've destroyed that thing like 3 times. I've had to replace it. And last time I just bought like 3 of them at the same time, you know, knowing it would happen again. But It's I hear what you're saying, and I don't like it to be extremely loud either. I like a nice low grumble. I do like it to sound good. I mean, I want it to sound cool, but definitely the weight savings it's crazy when you hold up a stock exhaust with the dang aftermarket. It's nuts. So I mean, you can drop anywhere from $300 on the short end of that, and you can go crazy and drop $1,000 or whatever on these things.
So I think I got just the can and the relocation, which actually means I got a silencer and a mid pipe.
Oh,
from
nice.
Camel.
Okay.
It was, let's call it $400. Like
That's
it was
good,
not,
man.
It was under $500 to get a mid pipe and to get an actual exhaust. So it totally changes the location of the exhaust.
Yeah.
And this is different companies, different bikes, all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. The thing I think people need to think about is, and it actually segues to a future conversation, that if you buy a custom exhaust, it may affect the way what kind of luggage you can buy, where the luggage is mounted, and all that other stuff. So you have to think about that, whether or not if you have luggage already or if you plan on buying luggage, you need to make sure those two things are compatible.
Definitely. Yeah, 100% right. Well, speaking of luggage, how about that for a little segue, dude? Nice work on that one, man.
It was an accident, but it worked.
Yeah, dude. Those are the best things to do. I'm not going to get into this whole soft luggage, hard luggage debate. That's a whole nother episode. And you can go cheap, a couple $100, get some throwover saddlebags and be done with it. You can drop damn near $2,000 on luggage if you want to. I mean, you can go crazy. You can go get yourself a nice, reliable set of Nelson rigs, a couple $100. Go get yourself the top of the line Moscows, or like some Jesse bags, like you were talking about earlier. Some really nice Touratech, aluminum bags, $2,000.
Yeah, and if you're the protection guy, like if you want engine guards and all other stuff, there's a huge advantage to getting luggage racks for certain bikes.
Yeah,
it's easier to pick up the bike. Like if the luggage is not on there, it's easier to pick up the bike when it crashes.
That's how I use mine all the time.
Yeah, lots of people like that. I don't approach it that way, but there's a lot of logic there, and I support it. I've helped lots of people push, carry.
It's very bike dependent. It's one of those things.
It grabbing a hold of that luggage rack when it's nice and firm is a lot better than sticking your hand underneath that nasty, muddy fender and everything.
Dude, you need a T-shirt that says that, brother.
There's some perks to that. So
totally.
Yeah. Seth Haley raced his 890 with the luggage racks on it, and I distinctly remember because I saw the video the other day helping him turn that thing right side up, and I was like, well, this is great because I can just grab his luggage rack and just pick it up.
Yeah, definitely something to be said for that. So, just know if you're going to go camping, which we're going to talk about too, you're going to probably need a way to carry some luggage. Yep. So that's the way that goes. This can probably be a pretty quick one, and a lot of people will never do it, but suspension upgrades.
I think we talked about it marginally on the Himalayan episode.
Yeah.
Large numbers of Midwestern Americans need to consider the fact that they're going to probably spend $100 to $200 on springs.
Agree.
If you weigh over 185, 195 pounds, you have a high likelihood that you're going to buy springs. Yep. So just know that now. Just budget yourself $200.
But most people aren't going to do it.
I think most people will buy fork springs.
You think so?
Yeah.
I disagree. We need to do a poll. Let's do a poll. You need to put it out there. And do you upgrade your fork springs, or are you still running? I'll bet you a case of whatever hipster ass beer you want, and a bottle of whiskey for me. We'll see. We'll see who's right.
That's a high wager. I don't know if I feel that strongly.
Dude, it could be a cheap. I drink some Wild Turkey 101, brother. $20 compared to your craft beer. I think it's even.
Bullet Rye is amazing.
Fine, man.
It's so popular now.
Yeah, dude. No problem.
I think it's a good point.
The final hard part thing that I really wanted to mention, I don't know if you have anything to add, is you are going to want a way to not get lost. So you are going to need either a cell phone mount for $30 or a Garmin GPS for whatever, $300 to $600, or go crazy and buy what I want, which is the DMD2 device for $1,000. So you got a range here: $30 for a cell phone mount to $1,000 for an 8-inch tablet that you can control, with a little remote control on your handlebar. Times have changed. Maps are not what they used to be. As much as I hate it, they they're just not as readily available. You're going to need a way to navigate. And so whether you're mounting your phone on your bars or you're buying a dedicated GPS unit, which is the way I would steer everybody who was asking me to do it, something for you to think about. And you're a guy with like 18, devices on your bars. So
that's what I was getting from a cost standpoint, without like spoiling the end, so to speak. If you want a GPS and you're one of those folks that wants to make sure that the bike looks really good, you're probably going to want to run the power cord under the tank. So if you're not like a really handy person, if you don't have a friend, you may have to pay someone to mount that GPS and take your bike apart. So you're going to need to schedule a few hours in your local shop or whatever else it is to get that done. So just know that now.
Good point.
I use an SAE connector. I run wires up the tank and into my tank bag because I use my GPS on all 3 of my bikes.
Right.
So I buy it once rather than having multiples and special mounts and that stuff.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
I don't see a lot of people do it this way, but I know, both ends exist. So just know that now from a budgeting standpoint. And like on that Himalayan, you're going to need to spend, let's call it $20 on protective film for your tank. This also applies to cell phone mounts. If you're going to put a cell phone on there, it's going to happen. The charging wire for your phone is going to start flapping on the tank when you're on the highway, and you're not going to notice it. It will scratch the paint.
Yeah.
So you need to think about where that's going to be. My Scrambler has had a protective piece of vinyl down the center of the tank since pretty much day one.
It's so funny to hear you talk about protecting a little bitty piece of the tank. And the whole rest of the bike has been run to shit. And you're like, oh, that wire might rub a little piece of the paint
funny. That's no lie. I literally still get
You're a weirdo.
scratch remover out from time to time, and I actually buff the tank of the Scrambler.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, but you know full well, like the side of the engine case has been worn through the powder coat. There's aluminum, there's shiny aluminum showing on it now.
It's hilarious.
But I'm like, the tank's got to be pretty. You need to keep those pearly whites shiny.
That's the Harley rider in you coming out right there, man. So yeah, what do you have any other hard parts, or as you want to call them, farkles? But what did I miss?
I think you nailed it. What I wanted to circle, actually, we talked about luggage. I had tank bag listed here. So I did the math on essentially what I've spent on the Tenere.
Yeah.
I'm really only about $835 deep, plus the $400 or $500 for exhaust. Like I said, I didn't really count that because it's specialized for both my riding style and that bike. But yeah, if you're not going to... So I bought skid plate, crash bars, hand guards, luggage. And I priced in $300 of luggage to get something comparable.
Yeah.
I had all my stuff. I didn't actually buy luggage for my Tenere. I've had all of it from previous bikes.
Yep.
But I did spend $65 on a tank bag.
Okay.
This tank bag, right? So, but yeah, these are budget options. And I'm in $835. So you can do what I consider to be affordably. All of these are pretty cheap.
I am not adding up what I've spent on my KTM.
Right.
There's no way in hell I'm doing that.
Right.
So yeah. All right, cool, man. Man, I'll be honest. I got a lot of other things I want to hit. So I want to talk about gear, but I want to also kind of breeze through that a little bit because we did an entire episode about gear, and people should go listen to that if they have questions about it. Is that cool with you?
No, I like it. I think we should do that, and then I want to talk budget on that again because I did the same thing where I picked what I thought were highly affordable adventure/dual sport appropriate stuff. And
that's fantastic, cheap. Man.
Yeah,
and I'm definitely not adding up how much I've spent on gear either because it'll make the Kardashians' closets look like chump change probably. But yeah, I mean, we can break this down, but just quickly, what you need to ride adventure motorcycles: a helmet, a jacket, pants, gloves, boots. Arguably, that's all you really need, but a Cardo is nice. A Cardo or a Sena communication system, and a hydration pack, a backpack of some sort would be nice as well. I also didn't really think about this, but man, wearing motorcycle-specific socks, base layers, underwear is also really, really nice rather than baseball socks, let's say, or something like that. So small things to think about. Most people think about the big stuff, but a couple other little items in there.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, we covered the range of hot weather, cold weather,
Exactly.
episodes. So I do recommend people listen to the
For sure. Do you want to run your breakdown on what you got?
Yeah, so it was like I searched each of those items, and I didn't sort quite like cheapest to most expensive for all of them, but I kind of know the range.
Yeah.
So the Bell MX-9 Adventure helmet, which I actually have, is $280. So you can buy a very affordable regular motorcycle helmet, but if you want that whole like peak visor adventure,
The adventure look,
experience,
yep.
you're going to pay somewhere between 200 and because I think actually LS2 I think has one for 180, but you're going to pay in that range.
Yep.
Revit Eclipse mesh jacket, $200.
That's a deal.
That's what I was like, dude, this is a Revit jacket, $200. Climb Mojave pants, $240.
Yep.
So you can get. I have mesh pants from like First Gear, $150 back in the day. They're probably
there's some good
$200
budget
now.
options.
Yeah, there's some
out
stuff
there.
out there. But I was like, yeah, Climb Mojave pants. Like these are like adventure style stuff, $240. Like that's pretty reasonable. MSR has a pair of gloves for $65.
Yep.
In the adventure range. I'm like, well, hell, I might actually buy those because I'm in the market for that. Right
My
now.
favorite gloves are MSR knit gloves, and they were $30.
Yeah, we've talked about adventure boots in that episode at great length. There's
Yep.
lots of options out there, but I went back to Tech 3s. Tech 3s used to be Alpine Stars Tech 3 boots, which are like motocross style. They're entry level. They're up to $265 now. You can find them on discount for $200 probably. And then MSR has a hydration pack for $65 that's got like tool pouches and everything else.
Oh, okay.
So this is all Tusk, Rocky Mountain stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other brands that are out there, but I've been happy with this stuff. I mean, I've got MSR pants now and whatnot. The thing that you did not include, rain suit.
Oh yeah, good point. Yep.
Nelson Riggs, $63, or at least
Sweet.
plan on spending $100. I bet on a good.
Every manufacturer out there has a rain suit for $100.
Yeah.
I mean, Revit has a really nice rain suit for under $100. Everybody really does. You mentioned Rocky Mountain ATV. Drew and I joke and talk about it all the time. We have zero sponsorships. We don't give a crap where you shop necessarily, but I have always had good experiences with Rocky Mountain ATV. I do a lot. I've shifted a lot of my stuff over to Upshift Online's new online
cool.
web store, which is Timber, TMBR, TMBR.com, and Union Cycle and up in New York. Dang,
Okay.
Union Moto. I've started supporting some of these smaller shops a little bit more because I want them to be around
Right.
when we need stuff. And sometimes they carry some really niche stuff, which is
Yeah.
really cool to see. So
Great point, and I want to tie onto that, and I kind of wanted to pull that in later, but this works. Like Ride Northern Kentucky, you can now text. You can literally send them a text message that you're looking for something, and they'll text you back.
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like that. CCM and Ride Northern Kentucky here in the tri-state has done that.
Yep.
So you can literally look up their phone number and text their phone number, and they'll probably tell you they're closed right now, but they'll text you tomorrow. So when they come in, they'll text you in the morning, so you can talk about buying some of that stuff.
That's cool, man.
And I'll have to talk
If you
with-
can't support your local dealer, by the way.
Well, yeah, and that's not only that, but I'm saying like for some people on this listening, these are local dealers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that is where I bought my Tenere from, was CCM, their sister parent company, whatever. So that's out there. United Motorsports is a sponsor of Thread River Scramble, and they're building an online database. I've bought some tires from them, and I bought online on their website, shipped it right to
Awesome.
my house the same way Rocky Mountain, and it's a tire that I particularly love, and it's hard to find in other places.
Heck yeah.
And because they're new, they're more interested in finding out. Like if you're seriously going to keep buying those tires, then they'll stock them and they'll ship them directly to
Yeah.
your house. So the industry is shifting. A&J Cycles is another sponsor of the show. They're awesome.
Yeah.
My suspension came from A&J Cycles and stuff like that. So think about that.
Well, dude,
stuff. You're right.
Ben over at Moto Camp Nerd is carrying Tourmaster and climb gear now.
Yeah. Yeah.
In addition to all the camping stuff he carries.
So
And-
good, solid plug there, because I was looking at his website for camping stuff. When you get to
dude.
camping gear, so
I
was
don't,
looking
dude.
at-
I don't buy my camping gear anywhere else anymore. I mean, I used to go be like everybody, go to REI, whatever. So that's a huge tangent for me. But I'm trying to support these smaller shops a little bit more. So
I'm glad you said that, because it's a good point.
continue, sir.
Lord, where were we? We talked
You
about
were
gears.
you were with
Rain
boots,
suit.
I think, rain
Yeah.
suit.
No, we
Yep.
covered all the gear that I had. So I summed it all up minus the rain suit, and it was basically $1,100. So head to toe, quality stuff, hydration pack. Did I include the comms unit? I don't know if I.
Nope,
included
you
the
did
comms
not.
unit.
That's $300.
No, it's not. And that's
No?
why I wrote that down as well.
All right, let's see.
lots of people want you to buy the new latest and greatest.
Yeah.
I've been running communications since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had the Cardo G4 back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
They just recently caught up to the features that were on the G4. It's really weird how
That's
that happens.
hilarious.
I'll save that for another episode. So I've been in comms for a long time. I'm a former military radio operator. Like it's my jam. But I think the reality is for most people, you're riding alone. You're riding to work. And you might be riding with one other friend most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It is $700 for a Cardo Pack Talk Edge Duo unit. So if you want 2 headsets, it's $700 now, which means you're buying one, you're paying more than half that to get just one.
Yeah.
And that's to get all the features and all the neat stuff. But it's like if you ride with one of your friends and they're on a Cardo, you can buy a base unit. Their new Spirit is $100.
That's cool.
And they have the 2X for $230 for a single.
Okay.
It's probably $400 for a double.
Yeah.
So if you have a good friend, then you can split one of those. But my point is that the comms has gotten insane.
Yep. Totally.
I don't think the features justify the price at all. Even though I have a premium unit, it's insane.
Yeah.
So don't get sucked into all that stuff. Pay attention to who you're actually riding with.
I also have a Cardo Edge, which I really like. I'm pretty happy with it overall. The thing, as I've started to look for lower end units for my son's helmet, is that some of those do not work well with the Edge or with some of the higher end ones. So just consider if you're going to go cheap and buy a $100 one, may not be compatible like you want it to be. So
and there are things on my Cardo Edge, like we'll turn this into a Cardo episode real quick. Like I love the features on it, the sound, noise canceling, all this stuff. Absolutely stellar. 90 miles an hour. I've been on the highway talking, and it works great. But I'm disappointed in the battery life by a large margin. I've actually talked to Cardo about it personally, and they had me do a test, and it magically passes the test, and yet is halfway dead through a ride.
Interesting.
And obviously I ride long days.
Yeah.
But still, it's like the battery life, the whole mesh trying to link up and all this other stuff. Like this stuff is not better, and if I have to use an app on my phone, why is this unit $400?
Yeah.
Like I'm very upset with the industry. Hashtag Cardo, send me hate mail.
I am making a note to do a Cardo episode now, and I am only going to be there in spirit. I'm going to sit back and let Drew run his trap for 2 hours straight about it.
Yeah,
but I agree.
You clear on here forever ago. So I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm cost conscious. So if you want comms, and comms are amazing. I recommend it, especially off road. But the prices have become insane. Don't get sucked into buying the latest and greatest.
Buy the one you need.
Unless that's what makes you happy. Know that there's more affordable stuff out there.
Buy the one you need for sure.
Yeah.
Any other gear we're missing? I think that covers it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
No, sorry for what? It's your show, dude. Your name is on the damn title, bro, you know? Maintenance and repairs, I felt like we could spend a little bit of time talking about.
Yeah, I think that's better time invested.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, there are definitely some things to consider here. Most frequently, you're going to have oil changes done to your machine, right? So you need to consider your intervals. By the way, do you go with the interval listed in your manual, or do you just make it up?
I'm pretty strict about oil changes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't set odometers and whatnot, but I remember, right? Like I remember the scramblers every 6,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it's like I do it. I've been pretty close. I'm within a couple hundred miles on the Tenere so far.
What's the interval for oil changes on that?
3,000 miles.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that whole played out. Yeah, it was like 10,000 miles, and I was like, oh shit, I was supposed to do that at 9,600 miles or whatever it was, so I had to do it.
Yeah. I can set a reminder in my 1090, but I can tell by the feel of the clutch when it's time to change it. I think I don't even know what the interval service calls for on my bike. I think it's 6,000 miles.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell I'm letting my bike go 6,000 miles before I change the oil. I'm basically about 3,000 miles.
I think this is an interesting conversation to have in relationship to people who are bike buying.
Yeah.
I do think that the average consumer is somewhere, especially in our realm, somewhere between 2,000 and 6,000 miles a year is pretty average.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the case. And that works out pretty good because most bikes these days are 6,000 miles. So you really only need to get a spring tune-up or whatever else it is, and you're probably good. But it's something to think about, especially in the dual sport range, because that is like super wide. And then if this is a whole other podcast, switching from a more traditional Japanese dual sport to buying a European plated race bike.
Yep.
If you don't do your own maintenance work, the sticker shock that you're going to have from that, if you like to stick with what the manual recommends, it's going to be pricey.
Yeah.
So know that now.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it cost me about $65 if I'm going to do the oil myself on my KTM. So if I was going to bring it to a dealer, I don't even know what that price would be, but it would be a couple $100. I'd be willing to bet,
I forget what it was because I just bought 2 quarts of oil. No, I bought a gallon of oil and a filter for my Tenere, and I was surprised because it was like under $50.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and it was way cheaper to buy the full gallon. The Tenere, of all things, is like 2.7 gallons.
Yeah.
So I buy the gallon.
Really, that's it? 2.7?
It's a
Wow.
small engine, high frequency. Again, long haul Paul was just on the episode with 170,000 miles on his engine, so we know it can do it. Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no doubt. I'm at 3.8 on mine though. That's crazy.
The 3,000 mile intervals on that engine kind of make me a little crazy because I'm used to 6 on the Triumph. I think it's 3 on my WR. It doesn't matter as much because it does not catch the mileage. It is more likely to find its way onto a trailer and whatnot.
I guess I'm so used to 3,000 mile intervals on cars, and now cars don't need to be done every 3,000 miles, but I still, in my mind, I'm like, 3,000 miles. My dad just beat that shit into my head when I was a kid, and
God,
so
you're old.
For real, dude. Yeah, we used to run dinosaur oil in our cars, Drew. It wasn't even this full synthetic BS,
I still do, and that's we can stay out of that. But there is money to be saved if you are okay with traditional oil and synthetics not called for. Like my Triumph service is probably upwards of $65 now because it's 4 quarts of full synthetic plus a filter that's
it's got to be up there.
It's in pounds, British pound sterling. So it's $14-15 for an oil
totally.
filter. So the Yamaha is dramatically cheaper.
Well, and I'm not buying the Motorex oil for my KTM either. That's $25 a quart. You can go F yourself, dude. There's no way.
That's what's funny, right? Like I said, without starting the oil conversation, I have always bought Castrol for the Triumph, and I've always bought the Triumph air filter or oil filter until just recently I put a K&N on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's got 87,000 miles on it, and so it's like I'm not going to screw with something that works.
Exactly.
There's a good argument to have for all that stuff.
Totally.
To me, oil and filter's not the expensive part. It's the valves, air filter.
Well, that's the next big thing is the what I call the big service. So some bikes that's about 12,000 miles, some that's about 18,000 miles. You're doing your filters, you're doing all the fluids, you're doing a valve check and an adjustment if it's needed. I used to do all that myself, and I'm gonna start doing it again myself the next time I need to do it. But with my Tiger 800, I can't remember, I think that was a 12,000 mile service on my Tiger. That was $1,200 from the dealership. I had the dealership do it on my 1090, and also we did some suspension work and some other stuff, but the bulk of that was about $1,000 to do the valves and all that stuff. I mean, $1,000, dude. That's real money. I knew it was coming, so I saved for it, and I wasn't too butthurt about it. But you're gonna bring your bike in for that first service or that first big service, and you're gonna be like, what did I do? When you're buying a used bike, you need to check if the mileage is at about that hit. Man, if they've paid for that first service already and it was professionally done and they have receipts for it, that's a freaking selling point right there. You know what I mean?
This is a great poll the crowd. For anyone who has any remote interest in Ducati, go look on Marketplace and see how many of the Ducatis for sale are right around the valve.
Yeah.
send me emails, text, whatever. I don't care. Moto 80VR, Instagram, whatever it is. The number of bikes I have seen that are within 1,000 miles on either side of known valve interchange, because I think it's like 7,500 miles on the scramblers.
Could
and
be.
whatnot.
I don't know.
Look it up.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked by the number of these bikes that are almost due for that big fat service, and people are like, I think it's time to move on.
Or you learn how to do it yourself, and it costs nothing. And I'm getting back to that. With my 950s, I always did all that myself. These modern bikes are kind of scary with how much crap you've got to take apart and all the plastics and all that and time and meh, But
I'm terrified. I shouldn't say that. That's not the right word. I'm not looking forward to the Tenere.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I've done every single valve service, oil change, everything on the Scrambler since I've had it. All of them. I paid for the valves to get checked on my Speedmaster, which is the same engine, at $12,000, and I think it cost me $550, $600 back then. And it was pretty much the end of me paying someone else to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So I looked at, I looked it up the same way you did. I texted Mike and asked him. I think the big service on the KTM 890, which is the valve check, by the book is like, 6 labor hours or whatever it is, plus parts and whatnot. And he said the same thing you did. It's about $1,000 for their parallel twin service.
Yep.
And to your point, if your valves are out of adjustment for whatever reason, like you didn't change your air filter,
and you have to go more in,
you're going to pay more because, like the Scrambler, you have to remove the camshaft from the bike, which I'm good at, those mechanics are good at, but those hours aren't free, and it's easily $100 or more an hour.
Oh yeah,
most big shops to fix it. So
totally,
you know that's coming your way.
It's a big thing. Save your money, or start reading the YouTubes and learn how to do it yourself.
Yeah, I mean that is the thing about different bikes, and we can do a whole episode on that. But yeah, like
we can do a whole episode on any of this.
the original Himalayan 410, that was made to adjust valves easily on the Ural,
the BMW GSs.
Yeah, the Guzis have the valves out in the air. You just take the covers off.
Yeah,
like, I've had to take the Scrambler tank off for years, and I'm used to it. But that's a pain in the ass. The Tenere is going to be all this damn Tupperware, and the engine, like my WR, the engine's stuffed down in the frame, and it's a pain in the ass. And I can't imagine what it's like with that LC8. I've seen some pictures. I'm like, yeah, that is a
LC8's a nightmare, dude. And yeah, it's absolutely why I didn't do it this time. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So the next big thing that you're going to spend money on in the maintenance category is going to be your tires. So, a set of tires is, depends what you're going to get, right? But you're a couple $100 each time you're going to blow through tires. And if you're running knobby tires, you can definitely increase that interval. I mean, a TKC 80 or a Anarchy Wild doesn't last me 1,000 miles on the rear. But you put a little something like these Moto Z Adventures, which are expensive. They're like $260 for a rear, but they last me a while, which is good. Down to your Tusk, what do they call that? The D Sport.
That's what I run most of the time.
What was that? Yeah. What was that? Well, you run what? A lot of this greatly depends on your tire size or your rim size for sure. But what's that Tusk D Sport on your bike? $100?
It's now $80.
Okay.
I think I want to say it's 75-ish for the front and $89 for the rear.
It's like the best value in motorcycling, but I just didn't like that tire very much.
But in the beginning, it was like $60 for a rear and $50 for a front. So it was like $110. But I'm now up to $160, $170 for a pair of tires. And I know people are listening and are like, that's insanely cheap. I'm like, yeah, because now it's $200 for a 150 or wider rear 18 or 17 adventure tire. Like,
the 150 size kills me.
Yeah, it's nuts how expensive it's become. So I guess it's a good thing, right? If anybody's listening to the show and they're joining the adventure space, like, know now you need to budget $500 worth of just to buy tires.
Yeah.
Like, that may not even include mounting.
Well, that was the whole next thing was, like, you need to think about inner tubes, which what's that, $20 to $30 for a tube these days? I haven't bought tubes in a long time, but
I also want to throw a caveat out here because the Tenere is in that space. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, the industry has not very clearly marked tube sizes. And I took a picture of it.
It's really confusing.
Yeah, it's the stock size is what? It's like 100. It's like 150, 70, 18 is what a stock size is. Maybe it's 150, 80. Don't matter. People can look it up. Yell at your screen. I'm sorry. But there's not really a tube size. There's not like an official tube size for that. There's a couple brands that make one. But if you look up that size on most of these websites, like, you struggle to find it. And I pulled the tube out, and it's like a 120, 140.
Weird.
Like, Yeah, like, so it's not the same size that's on your tire. So know now that you're going to deal with some frustration on that stuff. If I don't have my phone out right now, but I took a photograph of the side of the tube and saved it because I'm like, this is dumb. Like the tube doesn't say what the size is, and if I do a search, so
That is silly.
Yeah, and to your point, right? I paid for like a high-end 150 tube, and then I'm like, after I pulled it out there, I'm like, I'm not doing this again. I'm going to buy this regular size 140 tube that doesn't cost as much.
Yeah.
So know that the tubes can go from, like you said, you can buy a $15 tube to a $35 tube depending on that, and that size situation will make you pay more. There's a, you're in the new club premium. That's what's happening.
Yeah, totally. It's a crazy thing, and if you're gonna pay someone to do it, dude, I gotta be honest, I don't even know how much that costs anymore because I have not paid for tire service in 20 years. Cycle Gear used to do it; it was $20 a wheel.
Yeah, and I think I remember the last time I checked, a Cycle Gear was 25. But
I'm sure it's gone up.
Prices have gone up so much in the past 2 years. And I'm going to apologize to the listeners. There's a thunderstorm going on right now, so the sound may be a little goofy on my end.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like hopefully this doesn't cut the show off.
Our kitten is chasing our dog above me, so yeah, you're going to hear that probably too.
That's funny. Yeah, I did hear that just now. So I think it's anywhere from 25 to 50. So I was about to help my dad with this the other day. If you can take the wheel off your bike,
if you're saving a lot of money.
Yeah, they're not going to charge you as much because changing the tire from them is easy. It's the not scratching and messing up your bike part that they really want to avoid.
Yeah,
and a lot of bikes, that's what happened with my dad. I was going to change my dad's rear tire on his Harley. He got an aftermarket exhaust, and the entire headers have to come off. Yeah, and he's like, I did that before, and it leaked. And I said, yeah, I don't have the crush gaskets. And then my Speedmaster was like that. You had to take off the slip-ons, which were huge, but it wasn't as big a deal as taking off, the crush gaskets that go up where it attaches to the heads. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. So know that now, that these are the reasons why they don't want to do that stuff, and you're going to pay a lot more. Yeah, if you want to get tires done at a Harley shop, you're hundreds of dollars just for one tire.
Yeah, it's crazy. To me, just buy what you need to buy to change it yourself. And adventure riding, a Harley and all that, that's a different story. Adventure riding, you're going to need to change your tire at some point, I assure you. So just learn how to do it. But that's without going down a huge diatribe. You are at the very least going to need to buy some tire levers at about $20 each. Mm-hmm. 2 to 3 of those. If you're going to do this yourself, a tire machine is something a lot of people love to have. I don't have a tire machine even after all these years. You can buy one of those fancy Rabicondas for $500 to $600, I think is what those things cost. They're pretty cool, but again, it's $500 I don't need to spend. You can buy a nice Nomar tire machine. You're going to $800 to $1,200, $1,500 for one of those things. What I have bought is a tire stand from Harbor Freight for, I think I bought it for $50, but now I looked it up, they're $80. It's just two round pieces of tube metal, and it's got a little breaker bar lever on it, because that's the hardest part for me, is actually breaking the bead off of the old wheel, and it really helps break that bead off. It's nice to have a little stand on there to work on, but for the longest time I used a couple 2x4s and put them on the ground and put my wheel on that, so it can be done for nothing. But one way or the other, you're gonna have to pay when it's time to change your tires.
This is another super hot button for me. I have changed all of my own tires since I've owned the Scrambler, with the exception of two. And I do it the way you described it. I think they're 6 or 8 inch Motion Pro irons. They're extremely affordable. I've used them all that time. I have a big one that I do occasionally get out when I get the stiffer sidewall tires. When I did the Himalayan. The radial tires don't want to come off the bead. They're really strong. The Tenere 700 stock tires were a disaster. So I do have a long lever to break the bead. The cheat code is 4-inch C-clamp.
Yep.
And you use the 2x4. So you put the 2x4 underneath the rim, and you put the clamp under that 2x4. So you're not putting the clamp directly on the rim, and then you put the round part that's actually moving on the screw on the tire, and you tighten it down, and it will pull it off the bead. Do a little soap in it, and I have a soap in a spray bottle. But that's a very cheap, affordable way. You can get those C-clamps for nothing at Harbor Freight. It's
got a whole drawer of them.
I have several. On the Scrambler, I actually carry a C-clamp when I'm traveling to break the bead off of there.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's the most important part that, to your point, you want to know. For folks that have not changed a tire in the field, and especially if you're by yourself, which I normally am, breaking the bead is going to be one of the most difficult things to do, other than getting the wheel off if you don't know how to do that. The other stuff, pushing in a new tube because you're not taking the whole tire off, is really not that big a deal. But if you can't break the bead to get that tire off, but it is flat, that's kind of a disaster. And that's the reason why I've carried that for a long time. If you're with somebody, you can do the kickstand trick and some other stuff, right? But when you're by yourself, it doesn't work out that way.
So. A lot of things you can do, man, for sure. And like, you can buy all kinds of cool stuff for your workshop, but this is kind of bare bones stuff. You know, I'll tell you this: the best thing I've ever bought in all of motorcycling maintenance is a bike lift, dude.
I saw that note from you about that.
Oh man, you don't have a bike lift, do you? I didn't see one in your garage, dude. Let me tell you, son. It's when you get to be older, dude. I'm too old to be crawling around on the concrete. I bought a Harbor Freight lift. They're very popular.
Yeah,
it was $300.
Yep.
Now they're like $500. But when I bought it, $300, and I waited. I should have bought it years before I bought it to be able to push that bike up in the air and put the oil filter in at eye level when you're sitting on a stool, and have a place to put all your crap that's not on the floor. Dude, oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing. $500, and you can buy, and that's just like a hydraulic, you push it with your foot and it kicks up in the air. You can buy ones that are on, pneumatic systems and you fit your air hoses to it and all that. I highly recommend, if you're budgeting money for this kind of thing, that you have a bike lift.
No, I mean, I've helped friends. They've bought them on Craigslist back in the day, high-end stuff. I've helped them load them in the back of the truck.
They're so heavy.
I've spent working on some, and as a guy who does a lot of tires, mine, other people, I see the utility.
The problem is space. They're so awkward.
That's what I was going to say. Is right now it's parking a car in the garage and 3 bikes, and there's a dance in there. I think someday there'll be a point where I'm like, I'm also not climbing under this thing anymore. I'm going to drain this oil. Right.
Best thing ever, man. Level. Best thing ever. Chain and sprockets, dude. $300 to $400 every 20,000 miles. That's where I'm at.
I think you're overpriced. But in my case, you're overestimating how long mine lasts.
Dude, well, let me tell you, I really neglect my chain. I almost never clean it. I almost never adjust it. I do when I first put it on. I just bought chain and sprockets several thousand miles ago. It was at 19,000 miles. I was still on the original set of chain and sprockets.
Yeah. The Scrambler used to do that, but now between racing it, which we'll see how this chain does, right?
Yeah.
But, again, Rocky Mountain, who was it? Was not Firepower. There's another brand that's in that vein that's more publicly available from some other places, Sprocket Center, some other places. You can usually, if you're not doing crazy sizes, you can get stock sizes for $200. Yeah. So.
Yep, you can. I'm be honest. Buying a chain is not something I cheap out on. I buy a pretty high end chain. To be honest, I can't remember. I think it was an EK chain. I can't even remember what it was, but it was every bit of $200, maybe $250 plus the sprockets. So it was right in that $300 range. Yeah, but it's every 20,000 miles for me. I'm like, okay, fine. Got a new chain. Got a new sprockets. Fine.
We talked about it in taboos, but like I'm there with chains. Know that you can buy, usually if you get a steel rear, they're usually cheap. Last a really long time. You might wear out the front, but you probably won't wear out the rear at nearly the same rate.
Totally. Yep, it's a thing. Am I missing anything with maintenance and repairs?
When we were talking about oil, valves, and the other stuff, air filters typically in there.
Oh,
Not super expensive, but there's a whole argument about, and that's a Farkle as well. Lots of, like, every KTM big bike owner is going to play the Rottweiler game, needed or not needed. That's there. A lot of people in the Tenere space are doing pre-cleaners and all this other stuff for those air filter, so you can switch to a foam filter, which you
Yeah.
can clean on your own, and oil. Frankly, oil it costs money. It's still a pain in the ass. You're still going to go through it. I was amazed by how much money I spent maintaining dirt bikes with oil filters and whatnot versus. But yeah, it was still. I think it's like $65 for that cartridge filter on the Scrambler.
Oh, wow.
Supposed to replace every 6,000 to 12,000 miles. I forget what it is. Which, in the scheme of things, 12,000 miles is an eternity for the average American motorcyclist. But
Yeah.
it's still, it's not cheap, right? But it's a big
Yep.
cartridge you have to stuff in there. And if it's under your tank and you don't work on your own stuff, the air filter on the Scrambler is great. You take a side cover off with a screw, you take 3 screws out, you put an air filter, and you put 3 screws back on. Anyone can handle that. That's pretty straightforward. But it's under the tank for some bikes. It's only under the seat for the tenor. I haven't done it yet, but I'll be doing it soon.
Air filter was a good call. I forgot about the air filter.
Yeah. But the WR is actually that's same story. 3 screws, but it's an old school oiled foam filter style, and I recommend you invest in multiples.
Yeah.
Because you're going to realize you need to change the filter the day before you want to go ride, and the filter's simply not going to dry out in time if you're cleaning it correctly. So
True. I always stick my foam filters next to a fan, and you got to plan ahead a little bit for sure.
Yeah, and some guys use gas. People have used gasoline and whatnot, and it evaporates and all this other stuff. So people who are more experienced than me in the foam filter range may have quick ways to do it, but in general, it's like spend the $20, $30, get a spare, and I rotate the 2 different ones I have for the WR.
Totally. Yeah, good call. What else? Good. That's it.
Maintenance wise, there's swing arm suspension rebuilds, especially.
Well, yeah, there's going to be a little
I think
things along the way, right?
I think for the average adventure rider, you're going to buy oil, valves, tires, air filters. For the most part.
Yeah, I agree.
And for whatever it's worth to people, changing your own suspension oil is easier than you think it is.
Yeah.
Some YouTube videos will show you how to do that, and a lot of times you can do that without actually removing the internals. Mm-hmm. So all you really need to do most of the time is dump out the old oil, pump it, and then pour in new oil. And maybe you buy a measuring device. Maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get away with just a tape measure.
Yeah.
So just know now that it makes your bike feel so much better. It doesn't cost very much, and it's not as hard as you think it is.
Some of those tools, like I have a Motion Pro oil level. It wasn't expensive. What was that thing? $20. You'll have it the rest of your life. Yes. You know what I mean?
No, I love it because it's like a vacuum syringe tool that I have, and you can essentially stip it down into the tube at the height you want it, and you pull on the plunger until it starts pulling in air.
And there you
go.
go.
The correct oil height. When you have old school, just spring damper suspension like the Scrambler, I think the FZ07 base model, CB500X Honda adventure bike, like these old school forks, they're so easy to work on. Yeah. So don't feel like you have to get nuts and be afraid to change oil, because it's cheap, it's easy.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Totally, man. Totally. This is something else we covered in another episode, but is worth a mention. I like to call this category, you are a tool. And really go back and listen to the toolkit episode. We went through this for 2 hours in depth. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this either, but it's worth mentioning. You got the cost of the tool roll or the tool bag. You got your basic tools to add to it, which probably you have on hand, but you might not. And, stuff to carry around for tire repairs, which is going to be your number one enemy of the adventure motorcyclist, is going to be constantly repairing flat tires. So we already talked about the cost, of the levers and the,
Add money to your luggage budget, because I think that's kind of where this ends up going. Is that's eventually you go, oh my God, I need to start carrying tools, and then you're like, well, crap, I don't have space for that. So we'll call it $100, $200 to your luggage budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it will pay for itself, because you'll get a mini toolkit, and you'll get some kind of bag to put it somewhere.
Yep.
And then you'll be happier.
Absolutely. Yep. That's tools in a nutshell. Like I say, go back and listen to the episode if you want to hear us talk about tools for 2 hours. 2 tools talking about tools for 2 hours. Man, that's hard to say. Let's go camping, Drew. All right, you want to?
God, I miss camping. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. Yes.
I have a love-hate with camping as the older I get, the older I get and the softer I get. But you know, the basics are, and again, go visit Ben. You know, he's a buddy of ours. He's running a good mom and pop thing. He's actually working a full-time job as well as Moto Camp Nerd part-time. Let's get him to be able to quit his regular job and do this full-time.
We need. I'm dead serious. We need more people in that space.
Yeah, dude.
So I love the fact that he's doing that.
Yeah.
Because I do think that we're borrowing gear from other segments.
Oh yeah.
But there are particular overlaps.
Yeah.
I had Austin on the show, right? He's a kayaker, so that was a great. You know, we talked about camping and his gear and safety and stuff, and it really translated. But that's what I love about Moto Camp Nerd is that it's camping stuff, but it really drives toward motorcycling.
Well, he's already done the work for us. He's already gone, okay. I mean, dude, look at his sleeping pad diagram that he's compared all these sleeping like bags and pads and stuff, and it's like you don't even have to think about it. You just have to go, I need this, and you look at his chart and you're like, that's the one. You know?
And that's actually funny. To me, that's the thing I want to go to first.
Yeah.
Because I think you can make debates about sleeping bag sizes.
Yep.
But when you get to, like you said, you know, I'm at the age now where I cannot sleep on the ground. I won't sleep. I'll be up all night long. And that's something that takes up a lot of space. That's another thing you didn't plan on bringing.
The sleeping pad you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's a space where it's like, okay, I'm not like a hiker, like, you know, walking overlander person, whatever you want to call it. I'm not super outdoorsy in that way anymore. You know, Uncle Sam gave that to me, and I had to carry what they gave me the last time I did this.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm looking for here, and these are really expensive, and I don't want to buy the wrong one, and I want to make sure I have the space. So, yeah, absolutely what you just said.
Yeah, it's the sleeping pads. I mean, that's a huge thing. Sleeping pads. You can go cheap. You can buy a $50 one or probably even less than that. But the last one I bought from Ben, I think that Joker is like $180 or something. Right. But it's got like, you want to look at your, they call it R value to retain heat in the sleeping pad. You want to make sure it's the right size. Like, I want a sleeping pad that's wide and long because I'm 6'3", so I don't want to be rolling off that thing in the middle of the night. A sleeping bag to go with it. So you're gonna again pay attention to what you need. Go ahead.
Let me pull you back from 1 second.
Yeah, pull it back, baby.
I spent $30 on Amazon for my sleeping pad or sleeping pad in like I don't know, call it 2018.
Yeah,
it hasn't popped.
Yeah,
but it's essentially a pool floaty.
Oh yeah,
and I've made that mistake where I camped in low temperature and I froze to death.
You will. It has to have a good R rating. Yeah. And I can't remember what it should be anymore, but it needs to have an R rating. That thing probably doesn't even have one, dude.
Right, exactly. And it's one of those things that it sounds dumb, but it's like I'm a side sleeper as well. Because I snore, and if I sleep on my back, I don't sleep, right?
Yep.
So, and that pad was set so that if you like got on your side, you like fell through it, and touched the ground. And
it just like shoots out from under you.
It was just the way that it worked, right? It was like, this is a cheap Amazon special, which beats sleeping on the ground, but not by a lot. So now it's like, why do these things cost $200? That's the reason. And I've specifically talked to Ben, like you said. They make sleeping pads based on your sleeping style. They're shaped and built in different ways.
Totally.
Different temperature.
They are not all created equal.
Yeah, and I'm like, now having bad experiences, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm shelling out the $200 on a good sleeping pad the next time I think I'm going to be able to go camping again.
Dude, I was sleeping on a good sleeping pad, and Xped was the brand. I had. It was a really nice, very desirable sleeping pad. I slept like shit every time I slept on it, and I couldn't figure it out. Turns out it's just the wrong pad for me and how I sleep. So I sold that thing and bought this Big Agnes one from Ben, and it's like I'm like sleeping like a baby suddenly when I go camping, So do your research, figure out what you want, and I will sacrifice some pack space and some weight for a good night of sleep. It's worth it to me. You know?
Different structure from folks, you said that, but that's, everybody listened to the episode so far knows, like, Drew is the cheap guy. Like, I'm going to find the cheapest way, and I'm like, that is full stop. That is where I'm going. No, like, trust me. I guess it's because
Yes.
I'm a light sleeper at this age, and sleep is more important to me. But it's like, yeah, this adventure trip is way more fun when I actually got sleep. So,
Yeah, totally.
definitely that.
Well, I think most of the people in adventure space are going to consider themselves in search of a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Value. You know, not necessarily the cheapest or the most expensive most of the time, but yeah. Anyway, so same can be said for sleeping bag. You know, again, get it for they make mummy bags, they make whatever square, rectangular bags, whatever they're called. I prefer mummy bags. A lot of people hate them because they're too restrictive feeling.
Yeah.
Make sure it's rated for the temperatures you're going to be in. Again, you know, do your research on it, but you're, you know, a couple $100 for what I consider to be a decent sleeping bag.
Sleeping bag matters as a guy who's now done that wrong in several ways.
You've learned some lessons the hard way.
Oh
here.
my god! Again, Uncle
Camping
Sam,
is trial and error.
It's funny, right? Because I had a foam sleeping pad for Uncle Sam. Thanks a lot. But I had a 3-section sleep system that the taxpayers paid for. I want that back. Like now, it packed like crap, but that sleeping bag was incredible, and you could change it in sections, right? So I could take out the hyperthermal, and then I could sleep in warm temperatures and be slightly more comfortable. I could take
Probably
out
had a waterproof shell too, right?
everything but the bivy cover, right?
Yeah.
And I multiple times I camped with the bivy cover. I learned lessons as a young 20-year-old something with that mistake as well. Where it was like, okay, that bivy cover worked great for the hot days, but I forgot that everybody cranked up the air conditioning in this tent tonight, and it's, you know, like now I'm freezing to death and I didn't bring anything else. Like all that stuff happened, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little. They sell those, but it's kind of more complicated. You got to keep up with that stuff.
Absolutely.
But yeah, pay attention to bringing just your Target brand sleeping bag into the summer and in the winter. Like all that stuff matters, as I've been on both ends of that since not having that sleep system, and it's painful.
Well, and quilts are becoming very popular, so there's options out there. I guess a sleeping pad and a sleeping bag ain't going to do much good without a tent. So look into tents, figure out which one you're going to get. Here's the thing I've learned about tents. I've had $500 tents and $100 tents. The tent I'm running now is a $100 cheapo tent because I just frankly don't camp enough to justify a $500 and $600 tent. The main thing for me with a tent is ease of setup.
Yeah.
Man, nothing's worse than getting to your campsite and that thing is a bitch to set up and a pain in the butt to break down, and I just want it to be easy. So that's what I got. And you know, everybody's gonna look for something different. I mean, they make tents you can park your freaking motorcycle in. You know, I just want a basic tent personally.
I have I think it's an Alps Mountaineering or whatever it is, one-man tent, and I've had it for a long time, and I love it. It's 2 tent poles. And they're that whole like aircraft titanium. It packs down to an insanely small thing. Like it packs on the bike great. The catch is if you take your luggage off the bike, and if you're wearing muddy gear, it's a pain.
There's nowhere to put your gear.
Yeah, so
it's too small.
You really need to buy a footprint with the tent. That's another extra expense for you. So it's an extra $100 most of the time, because I have to leave my boots and everything. I put my helmet in the tent with me.
I do too.
I can kind of put my boots in, but it's like, if I'm taking luggage off the bike and all this, that, and the other, it has to be waterproof, and it sits under the rainfly, but it's on the ground. So you have to like think about some of that stuff. So
that's why I like a 2-man tent.
That's where I was headed. I'm going to buy a 2-man tent when I think I'm getting back into this. I love the style of that particular tent. The catch is when you have the rain fly on, it doesn't breathe super well. So to me, that's the other thing, is we live in this temperate environment where it doesn't get any more miserable than it is right now. It was 82 degrees when I went to bed at 11 o'clock last night.
I'm not even camping in that, dude.
So it's like, no, now that's like, if you're in the summer, because I have camped. I actually had memories on Facebook today of me camping in that exact tent that I mentioned.
I've done
and it's
there.
like, I had to get like creative with the rain fly and use, trees and stuff like that to tie things up to get some air moving in there. And again, it's super lightweight summer sleeping bag, because I like sleeping bags, but at the same time it's super hot. Like all that stuff comes together. But I just want to mention the 2-man thing. It's like, if you want your gear in the tent and it's just you, always put space for one extra person worth of gear, especially if the weather sucks.
Absolutely.
Be glad that you have that.
It's such a small amount of added pack volume for a really big benefit, in my opinion. I'm like you. I've also had a 1-man, and it's great at first, and then and I'm 6'3", like I said, so it's even harder because I'm like I'm toe to top of my head and I'm touching both ends of this tent. There's no room for anything, and if you have to get dressed in that tent, you're gonna also appreciate the extra space.
That's it. Is that if you want to wear shorts and flip flops or whatever else it is around the campground or wherever you're at, which I do, especially in the summer, that's great. But it's like, where are you gonna put your muddy gear? Like, you're going to have your muddy gear all over your sleeping pad, or you're going to push your sleeping pad out of the way and it's falling on you while you're getting dressed. Like, I've done all these stupid dances. Right? So now it has a...
Totally.
It's a thing.
It does, man. You're going to need a couple things to make your camp dinners with. So whether it's a jet boil or like some sort of like MSR pocket rocket, they call it, or something like that, you're $75 to $100 depending on what you're looking at there. And then your freeze-dried meals, they're whatever, 10, 12, 15 bucks for a good freeze. You know, you can buy a cheap junky one at Walmart that'll give you heartburn, but
I'm going to give shout out. Go back and listen to the Sam Manicom episode. Late in that episode, he gets into camping and cooking a lot. And then again, oh my God, I'm losing her. And Magpie Flies. Her name's escaping me on air, and that's just what normally happens to me. I'm sorry. Go back and listen to that episode as well.
She has a whole cookbook.
Yes, we talk about it quite a bit as well. I remember the conversation with Sam specifically because he's talked about it on air and some other stuff, but listen to both of those episodes about camp cooking, because if you're into that kind of thing, I think it adds the experience. I'm limited on time, but I look forward to that at some point, being creative and enjoying that.
It's hard for me to figure out how to carry all that junk with me, but there's definitely ways to get that done for sure. So
Amanda, sorry, it just
Amanda Zitto.
Yes, honest to God, why can I not think of her name?
I'm an idiot too, because I was trying to think of it and I couldn't come up with it either. But I can barely think of my own name, you know. But and then the final thing, really, I mean, there's all kinds of junk you can buy for camping, right? Like you can buy all this stuff, but that's really to get you going. Camping fees. You're going to go primitive, you're going to go to an organized campground. You go primitive, you're going to camp for free, you're going to have no bathroom, no bathhouse.
Stealth camping.
Under a bridge, exactly. You go to
you meant backcountry.
Backcountry, that's the phrase now, I guess. Right?
In Danny Boone National Forest, you still have to buy a permit in a lot of places, even though technically you're camping wherever. So to me, stealth camping at this point is like, more like what you want to do it for free.
Well, in the Chattahoochee National Forest, you can just pretty much camp wherever you want. You know what I mean? So I guess local laws apply, right? Versus more of like an organized or a traditional campground. You're $10-25 a campsite. I mean, there's been times where we went and got a motel room because the camping fees per person per site, which usually those campgrounds, they have like a 2 tent per site limit. Right. You know, it's almost a wash sometimes, depending if you're not too picky about your motel room. But you get into some of these national parks like out west, and it's actually almost obscene what they charge for camping. So you can get pretty expensive, but that's just another little cost for you to think about in terms of where you're going to stay for the night.
Let me throw an alibi in here. I'm a huge fan of inflatable pillow. I know that we talked about that with sleeping bags. But I've used my jacket rolled up for years and
that sucks.
And that sucks pretty bad. To me, the move was, and I can't remember the name of the brand I have.
I use a climate one. KLYMIT.
It's like $30.
Yeah, it's not much.
It packs down to the size of like your wallet, if not smaller. And I wrap it with a clean T-shirt so that it's not like that. What do they call it? Flocked. I think it's the name of what they call the sleeping bags and air mattresses and whatnot. I wrap it in a T-shirt to make it feel more like an actual pillow. But that spend the $30 and splurge on that.
What's funny is that my brother and I stayed at Two Wheels of Suches a week or two ago, and we stayed in one of their little camping cabins. And I had the pillow was like a sheet. It was so flat. Luckily, as I was packing, I threw my camp pillow in there. And I'm so thankful I brought it. I almost like that camp pillow better than I like my regular pillow.
To me, it's contoured, and then the one I have has a strap to be held to your sleeping mat. so it
yeah,
doesn't
cool.
wander off in the middle of the night while you're in sleeping bags. Pretty sweet.
Nice. That's awesome, man. That is something good to have for sure. You know, I mean, you could talk about headlamps,
That was the next
headlights,
place I was
and
going.
all
Yeah.
that stuff. I mean, all the little things start adding up, like silverware and plates and mosquito spray, and like how crazy do you want to get? You know,
that is a whole episode, and we've had guests on obviously to talk about it. I'm a cloverleaf base camper that because of the type of terrain that I like and where I like to go, I typically don't want to load the bike down with a lot of stuff. So if I have the option, I'm going to dump the stuff, go ride the different stuff and do a cloverleaf, and then I'll jump site, then go to the next campground and then dump the stuff and then go ride. So that
I far
changes
prefer
what I
that
need.
as well.
You pack lighter, you don't carry as much stuff, and stuff's easily available from other places.
I just don't like breaking camp and setting up camp. I don't like stopping riding at 3:00 in the afternoon to try to set up all my stuff. Yeah. I don't like breaking it down in the morning when everything is wet from the dew. So if I'm gonna camp, it's generally, I mean, there's a lot of times where we camp just like that, but generally if I would prefer to have a base camp and just do cloverleaf rides as well.
And that's Red River Scramble's built on that. That's its entire premise, right? There's tons of routes in every direction. And that's the other reason why I want to plug the BRAP, the Soul, because you can do what we just said here in the tri-state and do that over. You could probably do it in a week.
Yeah,
like you could ride parts of the KAT, the DBB, and all that other stuff, and stay at roughly the same places. Not move every single day. So.
Yep, totally, man. That's my camping. Like I said, there's a lot of little trinkets you can buy, but that's it. That's the let's go camping. The second part of that is let's go moteling.
Yeah.
And when's the last time you stayed in a motel, dude?
Oh man, it would have to have been for work. Like I've not had to stay in a hotel in quite some time. Actually that's not true. There was a point where for a doctor's situation I had to stay in someplace, but it's hundreds of dollars now.
It's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Even when I came to see you and I stayed at that place.
Oh my God.
I can't remember what it was. It was right off the interstate. It wasn't a dump, but it wasn't like some 5-star hotel. The Joker was like 180. Remember what a hard time I had finding a hotel in Dayton?
Bonkers.
It's $180.
I think there was something big going on in town, but whatever. It's still kind of like, this is insanity.
Yeah, there's like semi trucks parked in the parking lot. Like, it was kind of crazy. So, I come from a day where my brother and I would stop and get a $25 or $35 a night hotel room somewhere, and that doesn't even exist anymore. Those days are way gone. On the low end, you're $75, but on average, I think you're way closer to $200 a night for a hotel that you're not going to get shanked in.
I got beef with the Airbnb model on a whole.
That's a whole different category.
Right, I enjoy renting cabins, and I've been in some nice Airbnbs. But we're now in that space where the hotel situation has become so unchained that it's like you're making this Airbnb thing a lot better.
Yeah,
a lot more. It looks like a better idea than the hotels in some ways.
The benefit of that is if you're traveling with somebody, you can split the room if you're cool with it and offset some of that cost. So that's nice. You get a free breakfast in the morning most of the time.
Yeah,
it ain't, nothing glamorous, but a pre-cooked omelet is not bad when it's free. So
the coffee is usually ready when you come downstairs
all the time.
You don't have to set it up or make a fire. That's kind of nice.
And they are usually ready by 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning with coffee. So that's kind of cool. And I'm an early riser, so I'll wake up and go down to the lobby and fool around on my phone for an hour or two till everybody else is kind of awake and going. Yeah. That's pretty nice. You may have to factor in some additional travel time or gas to get to your hotel especially if you're traveling like a BDR or something like that. So something for you to think about. But it's a more expensive way to go, but there's some definite pros to it for sure.
I have a preference, right? And everybody has their own, and I've not spent as much time coming across the country in many years, unfortunately. But I'm to the point now where I really like mom and pop campgrounds, and the good ones, and part of that's location, right? The gorges obviously become more popular. They're like building cafes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Cali's and Lago both have that, where it's like, man, I can't ask for much more than mom and pop having coffee ready and making
Yeah, dude.
sausage and biscuits and whatnot.
Happy to see you.
Yeah, I'd rather just get out of the tent and walk over to the cafe and
Yep.
as the fog rises and all that stuff.
Yep, for sure. We when we go to Michigan to see family, we've got a little motel in Ludington, Michigan called Grinders that we go to, and it's got like the classic neon sign out front.
Oh, yeah.
It hasn't been renovated. It's probably, I bet that hotel's 50 or 60 years old.
Yeah.
But it's clean, and it's outside doors facing the parking lot, which I love, and it's $80 during peak season, which Ludington, Michigan's a tourism town.
Yeah.
The rest of the hotels are $250 a night, and you can't get in those jokers.
Yeah.
This one's always got availability. So yeah, the mom and pop campgrounds or motels, if you can find clean ones, which in some parts, like you're not finding a mom and pop motel in Atlanta that you're gonna stay in. You know what I mean?
Dayton
but like
has none of this.
no, dude. But like you go to like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan or something, and they're abundant and they're clean and they're well taken care of. And so yeah, there's definitely places like that out there. So
Little Abner is a lot nicer because I finally got a chance to get in it this
Oh,
year.
yeah.
And I was like, that's way nicer than I would expect for a motel because of where I live. So
Right,
it's like,
exactly.
Like hotels up here like rent by, or motels up here like rent by the hour. But,
Yeah, basically.
Little Abner's pretty nice. Like, okay.
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I know that we're missing stuff on the
Sure.
secret cost of adventure riding, but I have exhausted my mind on this stuff. I can't think of anything else.
No, I think we've circled most of the stuff. Obviously, we love to hear from the listeners. So if you think there's key things that hits we'll say the center mass of the adventure dual sport space, please let us know. And like you said, I'm sure that goggle cleaner, lens cleaner, like you can go nuts.
You nickel and diming things at
the
that
gear
point.
space,
Yeah.
right? Like microfiber stuff and blah blah blah. Like it's out there.
Earplugs, disposable earplugs. That's $20
funny. When
bucks.
when you were talking about sleeping stuff, earplugs came to mind, and I didn't think of it until you said it again.
They're a
that,
thing.
like, yeah, that if you're thinking about camping, definitely pack earplugs. If you ride with them, it's not a second thought. But if you don't, it pays off.
I guess actually, while we're talking and trying to wrap this up, I had one more thing I just thought about, and that's a first aid kit for your bike too.
Yeah.
So whatever that's going to cost you, but throw that in your bag somewhere.
They're both becoming easier to get and
Yeah.
more affordable, and I'm amazed by how robust they've become.
Yeah,
there's
really.
a lot to be said for that. But
No
that's
doubt.
the other thing is, now you're playing the luggage game again because you need space for tools and first aid.
Got to be able to put it somewhere for sure.
No, it's true.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right, I'm with you. I hope we help folks. Like, kind of. I mean, we're talking about a lot of topics all in one episode, so I apologize. But like, I think
Yeah, we blew through some of them, but
Yeah,
it had to be done.
It really comes down to like if you're getting into bikes for the first time or you're like moving into the adventure space, you're probably looking at another $2,000
At
on
least.
top of the bike. And it's funny because I just heard somebody say that in like a YouTube video the other day or something like that. That was like if you're going to spend I don't know. It was like I think they said if you're going to spend $4,000 on a bike, then buy a $2,000 bike and spend $2,000 on gear. I actually think that was the Fortnite thing. I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was the insurance guy actually said.
I haven't
something like
watched
that.
it. Okay.
Yeah, but the premise is the same though. Like everything that we just said, it's like you're going to spend $1,000 on gear, and you're probably going to spend $1,000 just on whatever it is for the bike because in the dual sport adventure space, there's extra things that you kind of end up needing if you're pretty serious about riding off-road. And then, like you said, you're looking at probably another $500 to $1,000 in camp gear if you plan on doing that at any regularity. So,
Yeah.
it's a lot to think about on top
It
of
is.
a $10,000 bike.
Yeah, totally. It definitely is. But like you said, hopefully that helps some people out and gives you an idea on what you're actually looking at to get into this thing. And yeah, if we miss something, let us know. If you have questions, let Drew or I know. Email us, hit us a message on social media. It's all good. We're happy to talk about it, obviously.
With that, we will catch the listeners down the road.